last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
Welcome to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, episode 71. Before we get too deep into this, let me know how we sounding today. Hopefully we're sounding great. As you guys know, we had some audio issues last week. A lot of crack-a-lacking, a lot of interesting stuff happening. Hopefully we're sounding all good right now, but I obviously would like to get a public sound checked here because we sounded just fine before the stream last week too. Apparently we didn't. Mike just didn't say anything, but
right.
I mean, that's on Mike. Hopefully we're sounding all good though for you guys. If we are, we'll just get right into this episode. We have a packed show today. Lots of stuff to talk about. Any one of these topics we could literally sit here and talk about for hours on end, which is ironic since one of the topics would be longer than the actual thing will be in real life if I had talked that long about it. So how you guys doing? We're sounding all good. All right, good to go. So I'm your host, as always, Nathaniel Rumplejans from Nintendo Prime. Across the table from me over here is my co-host, best friend, the one, the only, Mr. Eric Moore.
Hello.
And then behind us, dead center, the thing the camera is going to focus on the most because, I mean, he might be the second sexiest man in his state. Mr. Andres Restart.
Wait a second, who's first?
That's Mike. Mike Odyssey's first.
All right, fine.
Fine. Yeah.
What's up?
Not much, man. Welcome to our podcast. We haven't done a podcast with you in a while, so I'm glad to have you here. For those wondering,
I just realized you have a separate channel.
Yeah. You were trying to find it on the main channel? That's how long it's been,
on the
huh?
main channel. I was like, what's going on? And I was like, wait a second. He has another channel now.
Yeah. That's been that long?
It's been that long, man.
Holy cow.
That's almost 2 months. Woo. It's been a while.
I wonder I haven't seen the show.
You're right. You might want to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Make sure you get notifications on the show every Wednesday.
That's questionable.
We don't have Mike Odyssey tonight. He actually technically is around. You guys are probably seeing him in the chat if you're watching this live. He didn't want to commit to tonight because it's his birthday. So happy birthday.
Heck yeah.
Buddy.
Happy birthday,
Mike Odyssey. Sit back and enjoy the show. We'll try to make it a good one for you over here. We got Andres Restart back on, who hasn't been on apparently in over 2 months. I'd have to go back and look. Right. I didn't think it was that long. I knew it was a while. But holy crud. We got to not let that happen again.
Oh, man. The time is just flying.
Mm-hmm.
Just so much going on.
Yeah, you don't got to tell me. Mm-hmm. Holy crud, is it busy over here. For the first time in forever, I look over at my whiteboard, and it's starting to be almost full of things I actually have to do. Not things I already did like 6 months ago.
Right.
So it's insane the amount of things that are going on this time of year, at least for me, let alone family stuff and all of that as well. And I somehow got to spend like $500 on Halloween costumes coming up. That's fun. Apparently, we're all going as a herd of dinosaurs.
Nice.
Of course, the blow-up variety.
Nice.
I foresee that being a very, very interesting in the neighborhood. Herd of dinosaurs just walking around. You usually see like one random person in one of those dinosaur costumes. You're going to see 5. And if you're in my neighborhood this year, look out. It's a stampede.
Right.
See how much my kids actually like it because they want the blow-up ones that completely cover their face. And I'm like, you realize it means you can't eat candy, right?
Yeah, right.
Just so you're aware. Yeah. You won't be able to eat anything till you get home. And I'm just letting you know, you can't take it off unless we're done. But
yeah, right.
It's whatever. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have some stuff to talk about today. But before we do that, let's get into how we kick off every podcast. And that is with, what have we been playing lately? And let's toss it over to our guest, Andres Restart, buddy. What have you been playing lately?
Lately, I've been playing Wave Race 64, actually. I'm trying to beat everything in it. It's pretty hard. If you haven't played it, it's interesting when you kind of compare it to F-Zero and Mario Kart. It functions differently. So every difficulty is a Grand Prix, but each Grand Prix has a different amount of tracks. So like if you play the easiest difficulty, there's 6 tracks. If you play hard, it's 7 tracks, and an expert is 8 tracks. I think there's a difficulty after that too. And the tracks kind of change each time, and then they add more as well. But it's been fun just kind of like playing Wave Race 64, trying to get back into it. Like I have a nostalgia for it because I was a big N64 kid. So I'm just kind of playing that beyond just, Splatoon 3. Like that, those 2 games I've been playing. I already finished Xenoblade done with that.
Nice.
People have been asking me, waiting for me to kind of start talking about it. I will. I do have at least a couple of videos that'll come out that I'll make for Xenoblade 3 soon. So yeah, but Wave Race and Splatoon 3 are what I've been playing recently.
Nice, man. Hey, it's a good lineup of games we're talking. Wave Race, Splatoon 3. Before that, a little Xenoblade 3. Not a little, a lot. It's a big RPG. There's no such thing as a little with that game.
Yeah, no, yeah, I did a lot. I made sure to do at least all the like hero quests before beating it.
That's a lot of quests.
Yeah, it's a good time. Each quest is great. Like Xenoblade 3, I think, has the best side quests of any Xenoblade game, and they encourage you to explore the world more. So it was easier for me to kind of like just take my time with it, as opposed to the other Xenoblade games. I just kind of like bum rush the story. Like I was like, okay, story. Occasionally, I'll stop for like 10 or 15 minutes to explore a little bit, but then I'll just kind of like story through. For 3, while I did enjoy the story, like the story was still strong. Like when I beat the game, I still had some. I teared up, right? So it's not like it didn't have an emotional impact on me. It did, but even with that in mind, I spent more time doing the side quests and I spent more time exploring the world. So I think that says a lot for this game. Consider when you compare it to the previous ones.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. I haven't beat it, so I can't go as in depth as that. But I'm having fun with what I played so far. The question is, when will I allow myself to get back to it? Because it's such a big game. Told myself I will beat it before Tears of the Kingdom comes out, but I think I'll be able to do that because I'm pretty sure early next year there's not a ton of stuff I'm like looking at that I'm going to sink a ton of time into. Even if I get Return to Dreamland, guys, like it's a Kirby game. It's not that long. I've beaten the original, so I don't think that there's anything coming out next year, even from the other platforms. At the moment that I'm too concerned about, unless Redfall or something falls in there, and I might mess with that a little bit. But yeah, so maybe I'm gonna give myself to about February before I start diving into it again. I think that's probably when I'll touch Xenoblade again, because I got we got Sparks of Hope coming out next week. Then we got Bayonetta 3, which haven't decided yet if I'm going all in on Bayonetta 3 yet or not. I'm gonna buy it because I liked 1 and 2. And I want to support us getting more of it. So I will plop my money down just to support getting more from Platinum and Nintendo. Same reason I bought Astral Chain. Same reason I pretty much buy any Platinum Nintendo game that's good. Heck, I bought The Wonderful 101. Some people don't think that's good. I think it's fantastic. So I'm just back there like, I don't know about that take right there.
No. I just like who thinks Wonderful 101 is bad? Like it's
there's one in every crowd. One in every crowd.
Maybe it's not great, but I mean, it's not bad. Like that's.
I mean, Superman 64, guys, that was bad. E.T., that was bad. Every Madden game since the exclusivity deal, those are bad.
Been bad. Been very bad.
But like legitimately, The Wonderful 101 is not a bad game. It might not be your cup of tea. It's a very different kind of game. There's like I don't even think there's been a game on the market since then that even compares, to be completely. I mean, maybe there's some indie game that does that I'm not aware of, but I can't think of any game that, like, when I think of The Wonderful 101, it's like it's The Wonderful 101. Nothing even compares. You can say art style, okay, Beautiful Joe, okay, but this doesn't play like Beautiful Joe, so.
Pikmin.
Yeah, but then it doesn't even exactly play like Pikmin either.
No, it's its own thing.
Yeah, it's like literally its own kind of game, and I don't know. Again, it's not going to be for everybody, just like Pikmin's not for everybody, just like Beautiful Joe back in the day it wasn't for everybody. No game is for everybody, even if I feel like Zelda should be for everybody all the time, but it's not, and I know it, and that's okay. So what have I been playing lately? Just some indies. So I had a couple sponsored videos over the last weekend, so I was kind of sponsoring my way into playing some indie games. Bus Driving Simulator 22, not my cup of tea. And apparently somebody told me the engine on the bus I was driving doesn't sound like the engine of that actual bus. So that is a note I'm going to be sending to the developers, because maybe they didn't know either. They probably just had like I'm guessing for the
stock no-
yeah, they could have like
engine sound.
they probably went to like a stock website and bought engine sounds that claim to be the thing. They probably didn't go out and record the engine themselves. I would assume they're an indie studio. You know, getting the kind of budget to get professional recordings of all the different bus engines might be hard. But I'll let them know that, hey, somebody who really is into, hey, driving a bus and getting a true simulation experience wants it to actually sound like the very type of bus that it is. So I'll let them know that that is something that maybe they can improve upon for the next one, or if not, release an update for this. But it's not really my cup of tea. In general, simulator games aren't really my thing. Maybe the only one that I play is Goat Simulator, and can we really call that? I don't even know. I mean, it's simulator in name only. You are a goat. Nothing you're doing in that game is what goats do, but you are a goat. It's kind of taken on its own meaning. The Goat Simulator.
I've never
game.
played the Goat Simulator.
Oh
nor
my
have I
God,
played,
it is.
that.
You know how people do.
Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's supposedly like incredible.
It's very. What makes Flight Simulator, I think, for people so amazing is just the Vista views. Man, they put so much effort into actually making it a beautiful
it's a technical
game.
marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anyone who's seen it in person and not been impressed, even if it's not something they think they'll have fun playing. It's just fun to watch and look at. Like, it's so pretty. You know, people might want it as like a running background on their computer or something just because it looks so good. And it takes a beast of a computer to run it well. So getting into the other game that I played, Europa. And I've actually probably logged about a good 10 hours into that game. It's not a 10-hour game. I could say this. If you're very good at figuring out platforming style puzzles, which I am not very good at that, hence why I suck at all the Mario Maker levels that people make, because I can't figure out anything. I don't have the fine motor skills I once did, or my brain doesn't work fast enough. Either way, this is more slow paced than obviously a Mario Maker, but I really enjoyed my time with it. I would say it's probably for somebody who's skilled a 2.5 to 3 hour game, intermediate 5 to 10. But for me, I got about 10 hours in before I beat it. And I beat it, and I wasn't paid to beat it, guys. I was paid to make a video. I couldn't. As I always tell companies, I do not do paid reviews. So I am not reviewing your game. Period. So anything I'm even saying now in the podcast has to come with the caveat: I was paid. So take that for what you will. You know, you can't claim an unbiased nature when that happens. But I did enjoy it for whatever that is worth to people, keeping that in mind. And something else I'm working on I can't talk about yet. So it happens every now and then when I'm playing something I can't say anything about yet. How about Eric? Have you been playing anything lately? Not counting today.
Yes,
Let's
I know
erase
that,
today.
that's about the only thing that I've played is the thing that I can't talk about.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let's just say there's a lot of busy things happening at the channel, and we some things we can't talk about right now.
You're
But
playing Tears of the Kingdom.
clearly, they hired us as private play testers. Wait, I just broke NDA. I think we got to press delete on the podcast right now before I get.
Yeah. Ah, crap.
Holy shit!
Pull the plug.
I mean, what are you gonna do now? You can't take the build I have now. I made backups. Anyways,
The ninjas will get you.
the ninjas would legitimately probably ban my channel.
Mm-hmm.
If I was ever to get in trouble for Nintendo being in my name on my channel, that would be the thing that would get me in trouble. Is talking
On
about
the note of
build.
ninjas, have you had issues with making videos with the Mario movie footage?
We did on the stream.
So during the live stream, we had a big warning pop up in the middle of it saying basically, we're taking your stream out. Goodbye. They didn't actually take the stream out. They did put a copyright claim on it that we are currently in a dispute with. Whether, I don't know. They haven't let it go yet, so it's whatever. But they never took it out. I think we're blocked in like 2 countries, but the main viewership countries, we weren't. And then we did an update in a news video, and I wasn't stupid. I talked about it for a minute, and I only showed 3 seconds of the trailer in that minute, and I didn't get claimed for that. But yes, it is not surprising to me that showing any of the trailer, audio and or visual, is a problem. because
Yeah.
if you check out any movie review channel ever, you'll notice, like say, Angry Joe, right? He does a lot of movie and TV, never shows footage, never shows anything because he knows he can't, because it's claimed every time. Doesn't matter what it is. And the same is true with this. So I'm surprised my stream didn't get nuked. A lot of other people did. There were some big,
I mean,
like
I had
Game
the same
Explain.
same issue you did.
Yeah,
Like
Game
the
Explain
stream
and
still
Spawn
exists, but-
Spawn Wave, both of their streams got nuked right in the middle of the trailer.
Game Explain?
So,
Game Explain, yeah, they got nuked.
so dumb. Like
You're right.
I don't.
It's fair use.
It is fair
it's-
use.
it-
But who's going to fight it in
it's
court?
just- it just doesn't make any sense why they would let that happen. Like if you're gonna do it, maybe like all right. So it's one thing to claim the footage.
Yeah, claim
which-
it, take the ad revenue, whatever. Sucks. But
Not well. First off, I think they shouldn't claim it at all when it comes
Well,
to like
if they
the
should.
initial like actual like viewing,
it's fair
because
use.
like people are watching it, people are reacting to it.
Right.
If you are claiming it, guess what? If people eventually people are going to stop doing like live reactions because there's no money to be made there, right? So if people are doing it as a job, they're not going to do that anymore. Like you're just it doesn't make any sense for them to do that. I don't really understand. I mean, maybe something that can be done is like maybe moving forward, if Nintendo continues to make like movies, right, where we react to them, we'll have to just like not actually show the footage, which would be stupid because if the people are watching your stream with us, they're gonna want to see the trailer, right? So it would just be kind of weird. I don't know. I think it's something that shouldn't be the case, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, so H3 Productions back in the day, he fought a lawsuit about reacting to trailers and other people's videos, and he won. So there already is a standard in court for fair use for live reactions. Unfortunately, fortunately for him, he had he's a really big YouTuber himself. Plus, he had all the other big YouTubers supporting him in their communities. So they raised hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees to do that. We are obviously, the rest of us aren't probably going to do that. So it's one of those that, yes, it is fair use. Unfortunately, this is just the way it is. And I've never understood people copyright striking trailers anyways. Like the movies, yes, but the trailers, I've never understood it because anyone who brings up your trailer or shows it in a video, even if they're talking about it negatively, it's still advertising for your product. It's putting it in front of eyeballs that might not see it otherwise. So it's really weird how that works, but it's been that way
what's
forever.
most annoying about it, and again, I could be wrong, but my impression, again, this is just what I think. I don't know, but my impression is the reason this usually happens it's not even like a conscious decision. It's just they just don't care. Like it's basically okay, we can make money and they can try to claim it, but most of the time we're just gonna win. So let's just claim it, have it, put the algorithm in place, not worry about it. And that's kind of it. Like it's not like, oh man, we this is impacting our marketing. Like I don't even think they think about it most of the time. I mean, I could be mistaken on that, but that's just kind of like the vibe that's given because you don't really see companies putting out like statements about claiming stuff on YouTube incessantly. They just do it. And
Well, it's automated.
We can fight it. Sometimes we win.
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't, and they just take the money. And
Yeah.
that's it.
It's automated. So, and people have criticized YouTube for it being automated, but YouTube absolutely wants nothing to do with copyright. They only care about protecting themselves because this platform is chock full of people who legitimately are breaking copyright. And YouTube doesn't want to be held legally responsible. So they provide all these automated tools that are supposed to be used by these companies that own the copyright to deal with it themselves. And unfortunately, it also leaves the system up to be abused, which I've experienced and other people have experienced as well.
Yeah.
Things getting abused that have nothing to even do with movie trailers. Just straight up people claiming things that they have no rights
And
to.
wasn't the Mario movie claimed by somebody who really didn't have a whole lot of rights?
Universal Studios.
I thought it was like Fox something 11.
No,
that was...
no. That had to do with the Google Stadia trailer in one of my
Oh,
videos.
gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, there's another thing that bothers me here. It's one thing when it's like, okay, this is a movie trailer. All right, we can predict that it's probably going to get claimed. But how about when we watch a Nintendo Direct and for just 30 seconds they put another Just Dance game in there? And because that single
and then the
Just
music
Dance
company
game,
comes in and claims it.
Yeah, right.
right? But there's so many other companies involved with this that don't claim it. And the company that claims it is a company it's like probably like what, like the 100th most important company in this presentation that claims all the ad revenue from this presentation. Like that's just kind of insane.
I do have
How
some
does
good,
Nintendo get away with having the directs on there themselves?
I do have some good news for you in this regard. Having talked to YouTube behind the scenes, they are going to they've already experimented with this in a couple of countries, but we'll see when it comes out for the whole platform. YouTube is altering the way the system works for copyrights. So now if they copyright, say, a 30-second clip of a song, they're only going to get that percentage of the revenue. So whatever percentage that 30 seconds is of the entire video will be the percentage of revenue that they get off the video. The content creator keeps all of the rest. So that's not a perfect solution because it's still well within fair use. It is a solution that allows content creators to not be as scared anymore.
Well, and my thought is they should still have to provide proof that they own the fucking rights to everything.
To be fair, the music copyright claims they almost always own the rights to the music.
But
the problem I think that happens is that Ubisoft in particular needs to, when they're going to show a trailer and they want to put popular music in it, of course, because that's what appeals to people. They should clear it with the copyright owners to not claim the clips that are in the trailer. Like, just here's the clips. Don't claim these clips before we put this trailer up. And it's tough because copyright with music is everything. A lot of professional artists, they don't hate Spotify. They hate all these other places that charge next to nothing to listen to music because the artist isn't making anything. They're making, you could have 12 million views and God, what was it? A report I saw, like something like 12 million views on Spotify equals like $2,000, which is like, that's nothing. Imagine that you made this really popular song and debut it on Spotify and you make basically nothing. That's why they're doing so many.
That's less than a YouTube video.
Yeah, I mean, that's bad. I have 12 million views. You're going to make a hell of more than $2,000. So it's...
Yeah.
So, but that's why also so many of these companies are reliant on like YouTube. Okay, we got to get a music video out, or we got to get a lyric video out on your official channel so we can monetize it because we own all the rights. And then we also got to make sure that we're doing concerts all the time or live performances or something to try to, boost all the revenue. And by the way, this isn't me saying that music artists are suddenly suffering. I'm sure there are some that suffer. The biggest of the bigs are probably not suffering. They have sponsorships and all this other stuff going on. But
there's so many ways they can make money.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to make money. But the chief way that, an artist thinks of making money, especially when you're starting out, is I made a good song that everyone loves. How am I not making money off it? Well, because people are just listening to it for free. So you got to find new ways to monetize. And that's why I think the smart thing to do if you're an up-and-coming artist is try to get big on a TikTok. Try to get big on a YouTube where you can add revenue the hell out of your stuff.
I mean, if you have a famous song, guess what? You're famous. Use that fame. Be a content creator of some sort, or an influencer maybe is a better term, because you can then there's also the other avenues you can take, right?
Yeah, I think
you can be in commercials, you can be in movies.
It's accepting the new age
or streaming.
Yeah, it's accepting the new age where it's not necessarily, oh, let's get on the radio. Oh, let's sign with a record label. Oh, let's do this. Like, maybe you got to get with the new age that the rest of, like, hey, covering video game news, you used to have to be a writer at a news website.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting we're talking about this today because, what came out today. I don't think this is a planned topic, but it is Nintendo news. We got that new trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, they were revealing the Electric Gym Leader. And it's a bit of a tease for a new Pokemon, and she is a streamer or a Vtuber. I don't pay attention to that sector, but that's kind of what it is.
Yep.
And it's a very modern identity. You go back 10 years ago, that would have been kind of weird. Now it's like, oh, okay, we know exactly what they're doing.
Go back 10 years ago, I don't even know if it's a thing.
I'm not.
I don't know what VTubers were. I think 10 years ago.
But even
YouTubers
then,
were.
Yeah. But
Streamers
even then,
but not.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
it's here
VTubers
and there.
I think VTubers the last 5 years, guys. I'm not sure. I know they
Probably
started
something
getting
like that. I
popular
mean,
in Japan first before they came over here.
I'm one of those crotchety old men that get off my technology. No,
I'm not
mean,
sure exactly when
I
it
just
was
don't
like
understand
an
it.
actual
You don't
thing,
understand VTubing?
but it
it's
definitely
a video
was like
YouTuber, I know. But
Well, the idea
not
so
mainstream.
for those who don't know what VTuber it means, it's basically someone who does live streams just like this, except instead of it being me here, it'd be a cartoon person, a version of me. And what this allows in many situations is people who maybe aren't comfortable with themselves, comfortable with their body,
Right.
comfortable upholding certain standards to be in front of people, they can then use a fake avatar version of themselves or whatever they're trying to be, and use that instead. Some of the VTubing stuff is really, really complex, all the way down to like trying to get exact facial muscle movements correctly with the words. Some of it's also pretty damn basic. A lot of it's pretty basic because most people can't afford the technologies needed to do the more fancy stuff out there. And in Japan, it's used for even more nefarious reasons, just like Splatoon 3 was used for some nefarious reasons in Japan quite recently as well. We'll see if we talk about that later. It's not a planned topic today, but there really isn't much else to say about that. For those who don't know, Splatoon 3, people were using it for not safe for work content on live streams by green screening out the ink and putting adult videos behind it.
Oh, I saw that, but I didn't see the weird stuff. I just saw
In Japan, baby.
the Rickroll.
Yep. Yep. And basically
Yeah.
it went trending on Twitter in Japan, and that's how Nintendo found out, and they started DMCA claiming everything because hello, you are not going to use our
crazy.
game to mask porn. Let's
Crazy.
just call it what it is. You're not going to use our game to mask porn. So
Crazy.
which I think most can agree Nintendo's well within their rights to not have their game be used in that fashion, but whatever. Japan doing weird Japanese things, man. They have a whole different culture there. You can marry digital avatars in Japan. It's a completely different culture out there. Not necessarily bad. It's just way different than what we're used to here in the United States. But Nintendo tries to keep the same kind of consistent rules everywhere. You are not associating our games in that way. So, that being said, let's get into one of our actual topics today. And this is just one that I had off the top of my head because, yes, folks, we're going to talk about the Mario movie because the Mario movie happened after our last podcast. So we haven't had a podcast episode yet to talk about it. So we will get to that. But I thought this would just be a really fun thing to talk about. What is Nintendo's best IP today? Now, it's easy enough to go favorites, like Zelda. Okay, yeah, Zelda's my favorite. Like, okay, there you go, done. Story over. But is that really their best? And what does best mean? Does it mean most important? Does it mean sells the most? Does it mean keeps Nintendo most relevant? Does it mean, system seller? What does it even mean? And obviously that meaning, as I just went over a handful of ones, there's a bunch of other ones it could mean, is completely subjective. So what I would like to do is kind of pass this around and see, how do you define best IP? Because we're not going to come to a universal definition here. I purposely didn't put a definition in because I want us to come up with our own. And then what IP do you think is that? And then maybe like what's one A and one B? Because I don't know if we could pick one IP and go, this is it. But maybe we can. Maybe we don't need a 1B. Maybe it's so obvious there is nothing else. So let's throw this, let's throw this over to Andres. I know he was looking at the topic list today and he's like, ooh, these are good. Mm-hmm. So let's see what he's got cooking for this one.
Okay. The problem is that it really just depends on your definition because you can make a definition that'll fit a whole bunch of different games, right? If you make a different definition in terms of like I guess best like brand awareness, you could say it's Super Mario, right? If you make the definition in terms of like hype, it's Super Smash Brothers. If you make the definition in terms of sales, it's very clearly Mario Kart, right? If you make the definition in terms of like most technologically advanced of game, it's probably Legend of Zelda. Like so. You can kind of pick and choose your definition, and it's like one of them, right? I think it's fair to say it's not Metroid. It's not, it's not Metroid. It's not F-Zero. It's not a Kick. It's not one of like the lower tier Nintendo titles. Although I was trying to like
Could be.
come up with some sort of weird argument to argue that Metroid
Sure.
is the most
You-
important
well, I
one, but
mean,
it's not.
you could go with critical acclaim.
Metroid might be up there, but I think Zelda beats it.
Zelda beats it for the number, but Zelda has a lot more titles than Metroid.
Yeah.
So,
The thing is, Other M just ruins it for Metroid.
well,
Like,
it doesn't have to be every title. It's up
Yeah.
there. Not every
Well, okay, I
Zelda
mean, if
title's in the 90s.
you can argue Metroid Prime is Nintendo's greatest video game ever made. You can argue it. There's other games that will be in that conversation, but it's definitely one of the best reviewed games. But there's also argument with time, but smaller samplers. There's a smaller sample size back then. You have Mario Galaxy, obviously Breath of the Wild, and Mario Odyssey. So there's a few games in that conversation. So it really just kind of depend on like what your definition is, right? Because there's all these different angles. But one idea I that came to mind as you were sort of explaining the topic is, what if we were to, hypothetically speaking, take out one series, take it out, and which one would impact Nintendo the most negatively? So, say for example, we take away Mario Kart.
Sure.
Nintendo would lose so much money. Mario probably wouldn't be as strong of a brand. Yes, Mario's a strong brand, but Mario Kart sells better than Super Mario. And most, like, let's say if you go away from the core gamer, most people who've played Mario in this day and age have played Mario Kart and not necessarily Super Mario Odyssey. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about like the very casual people who probably don't even own a Switch. Like they've probably played Mario Kart at a friend's house, or saw their kid or nephew playing Mario Kart, or maybe they're the kind of people that they buy a Switch, they're gonna get Animal Crossing and Mario Kart, but they're not gonna get Super Mario Odyssey. Like, it's Mario Kart is a lot more casual, more mainstream, and it helps the Mario brand. So if Mario Kart was gone, not only would Nintendo lose out on their best-selling franchise across the board, but it would also weaken the Mario brand, and that would have longer standing ramifications. Like, I think at that point, maybe Mario wouldn't even be considered Nintendo's best brand, best series anymore. Probably would go to Zelda, potentially. There would be a compounding effect, right? Like, if there's no Mario Kart, something would have to take its place. So maybe they would do something else to Mario to make it more popular. Or maybe they would just ride more on Zelda, or who knows? Maybe it would be something else different. There's a lot of different angles there, but that's maybe one consideration.
Sure.
But you could also argue, okay, well, that's what could happen if we take Mario Kart out of the equation. But what if we take out Zelda? If we take out Zelda, at least in terms of the Switch era, the Switch may not be what it is today. The Switch launching alongside Breath of the Wild is what set everything into motion. Had they come out with something else, it would have been different. Like, for example, had they launched with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, would the Switch have done well? I think it would have done well, but I don't think it would have done nearly as well as it's doing now. And that may sound weird because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has sold better than Breath of the Wild. But the thing is, it wouldn't have been a new experience. Breath of the Wild was a new experience that people were waiting for. Breath of the Wild literally showed you what the Switch is. So let's. I know this is a bit of a tangent, but here, just bear with me here. Let's go back to when we were talking about the rumors of what Switch was going to be, or the NX, before Nintendo revealed what the Switch was, like before October. You guys remember that time?
Sure.
And there was like the Eurogamer reports and things like that, and Emily Rogers were talking about there being some sort of portable system. And there was the argument like, oh, no, this is going to be a super powerful system. There's no way they can get away with doing a portable like home console. That doesn't make any sense. Like, at the time, there was this debate. It just did, and for a lot of people, myself included, I was like, there's no way Nintendo can manage a portable system as their home console. But then they showed the trailer, and then we saw that the rumors were true, but then they showed Breath of the Wild on this portable system, and then it clicked. It all of a sudden clicked. It was a perfect game to demonstrate that this is what the Switch is. It gives you the home console experience, the most advanced, impressive Nintendo game ever made, running on portable hardware. Think about that for a second. Breath of the Wild, and yeah, it's been a few years, but at the time, for sure, Breath of the Wild, by any stretch of the imagination, was the most impressive Nintendo game has ever made. It still is. but it was the most impressive Nintendo game ever made, and it did things that other companies couldn't even do, like factor in like physics and things of that nature. And we're seeing this open air game, something that's more polished and more open than most games, on a portable system. And that showed you that you're going to be able to play the console experience however you like in a seamless way. And that sold the Switch. So you take out Breath of the Wild or take out Zelda, the Switch wouldn't be what it is today, even if it would have come out with Mario Kart a month later. I think when I think about like that, at least in terms of like we look at the Switch, maybe if you talk about Nintendo across all history, it's a little bit of a different conversation. But at least for the Switch, I would say Zelda is the most important Nintendo IP for that reason.
What do you think if it came out with Mario Odyssey instead of Breath of the Wild? Do you think it would? What do you think the impact of that would be? Because I know you said something about like Mario.
That's a good
Kart,
argument. That's a good like
because I mean Mario Kart's already out game, so it's not really a new game. But if it would have came out with Odyssey, I still think it may have done well. Now, would it have done as well as Breath of the Wild? I don't know.
I'm gonna say no, but it still would have been. It probably would have still done enough for the Switch to really take off. So maybe it mitigates the significance of that. But like, just think of it like this: Mario Odyssey. If you look at like Metacritic, it's technically reviewed a little higher than Breath of the Wild. But I mean, it's subjective. But what game has won more Game of the Year awards than any other game in history? It's Breath of the Wild.
Last of Us Part 2. Actually,
say it again.
The Last of Us Part 2 beat Breath of the Wild.
It beat it, okay, but at the time, for a moment, Breath of the Wild did that, right? And
as of the end of 2017, it was the most awarded. Yes.
Yeah, and but the point I was trying to make is that it outclassed Mario Odyssey. And it's like looking at things now. Yes, Mario Odyssey is a really good game, but Breath of the Wild was innovative. It was revolutionary, you could even argue, for like open world games. Like, so it made more of a difference in that way. It was kind of like not exactly like Ocarina of Time, because Ocarina of Time I think was even more revolutionary for its time, more innovative for its time, but about as innovative of a game as we've seen in years from Nintendo. Mario Odyssey was also impressive because like, hey, look, you can still make a really good 3D platform in this day and age, but it wasn't like, it didn't do anything new per se. It was just like super polished. Breath of the Wild was new. So I do think Breath of the Wild is still the best game Nintendo could have launched with the Switch. But if it was Mario Odyssey, I still think it would have like conveyed that similar idea, but it wouldn't have been as impactful.
I just happened to think of it. I was just curious what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, Nintendo wouldn't fail, right? The Switch wouldn't be a failure if Zelda didn't exist, but I don't think it'd be nearly as successful. I mean, granted, you take out Mario, then also it wouldn't have been nearly as successful, right? Like, each game's been important. Animal Crossing, Mario Kart, Smash, Zelda, Super Mario Odyssey. Those are like, I would say, the 5 most important games on. Well, I mean, Pokemon's insane, so that's all.
Yep.
That's insane. And then Splatoon's also really important too. Like those are the like top 7 like most important series for Nintendo. And they have their own angles in terms of how important they are.
No, absolutely.
There's a lot to unpack there.
I know I could continue going on tangents, but I feel like I should stop.
No, look. It's interesting because, a lot of the things that, like we talk about, like you mentioned, Breath of the Wild being a perfect launch game, which it was a perfect launch game, of course. But like it being like, revolutionary or more revolutionary Mario Odyssey. I was listening and I kept thinking about it. And I love Breath of the Wild. It's my favorite game of all time. But there's nothing that it did that other games haven't done. Like Ocarina of Time was revolutionary because it was doing stuff that games at the time weren't doing. Like Z targeting, it invented it. There's nothing that Breath of the Wild invents. Everything that it does, other RPGs have already done. Other open world RPGs have already done. Whether they
I
did it
kinda
with that
disagree.
level, whether they did it with that level of polish, whether they did it with that level of attention to detail. But I mean, there's been games that let you climb everything. There's been games that let you go anywhere you want right out the gate, even more than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild hones you in a tutorial zone first before you can do it. There's been games that have open action world combat, cooking, potion making, hunting and gathering, chopping trees down. Like, none of this stuff is new. It's just new for Nintendo.
I mean, I agree and disagree. So, yes, it's not like cooking had ever been. Yes, most of the things done in Breath of the Wild have been done before, but never had they all been put together in a way to create an experience that was that open of an adventure game. Like, can you tell me a game where you can literally go to every square inch of the map? Tell me a game besides Breath of the Wild.
In World of Warcraft.
Okay, but that's why. All right, so I mean, like flying around, but it's not quite the same in terms of like there's a certain you can use mounts. So I guess I mean yeah, if you account for like mounts, but there is no mounts in Breath of the Wild. It's just kind of
There's
like
a glider. You can argue it's the same difference.
Mm.
Abilities that shoot you up in the air. Things that make you float.
the manner in which you can like explore
And you
in
can't.
World of Warcraft
And there's
is
games.
not the
And
same,
you and
the
can
same level as you can in Breath of the Wild.
without glitches, can you really explore all of it? You can't go under the water.
Fair.
In other games you can. Other Zelda
Fair.
games you even can.
It's
So-
still I would still classify it as revolutionary in terms of like open world games because there's no open world game quite like Breath of the Wild. And
well, here's a question for
after
you.
playing Breath of the Wild,
Here's a
most
question
other
for
open
you.
world games feel limited by comparison.
If you remove all the Zelda elements, would it still be considered a greatest game of all time? Or like even in that conversation?
To remove all the Zelda elements, define Zelda elements.
No Link, no Zelda, no
You mean just like
Ganon,
the
no
aesthetics?
rappers, no Bokoblins. It's
Like all the mechanics are still there. Like the combat mechanics are still
Sure.
there.
Sure,
Yeah,
the mechanics
like all of that's still
or
there.
mechanics or whatever. Yeah. Would people even have played it?
Yeah, people would have played it.
Would they?
I'll say this. I think that if you take away the Zelda aesthetic, it does hurt the game. I agree with you on that. Or I don't know if maybe you don't even that's not even your point. That's just like a question. But hear me out for a second. The Zelda aesthetic helps because it further accentuates the motive to explore. So they created this exciting giant fantasy world filled with mystery. So the big hook of Breath of the Wild is open exploration, adventure, and how you choose to do that. And the way they designed the game, you see varying points of interest and you go from one point to another to another to another. And with the Zelda lore as like the coat of paint, you're like, oh man, is that a giant dragon out there? I need to find that thing, right? Or what is that glowing mountain? What does that mean? Like, or there's these ruins over here. Could this be connected to something else? So that Zelda aesthetic adds to the mystique and the mysticism of like what you're exploring, so it doesn't enhance it. But it still would be an incredible game, and it still would have changed a lot. Now, it wouldn't have got as much attention, right? So maybe not as many people would have noticed it, and wouldn't be like an inspiration for games going forward as much. But still would have been a great game because it is a great game.
No, I hear you. Like the reason I brought that up is because, I mentioned, nothing done in this game hasn't been done by other games before. Maybe it's never been put together in this exact way, but none of it's new. None of it's new for Nintendo. Not really necessarily new for other companies that have been making open world RPGs for many, many, many years. So it's interesting because it is a common thought that some detractors have that it wouldn't be as big of a deal if you removed Zelda from it. And then you even have some hardcore Zelda fans that to this day swear it's not even a Zelda game. They don't get to decide that, but to them, it doesn't feel anything like a Zelda game. So to them, it's not even a Zelda game. And they can't wait for this whole Breath of the Wild arc to be over as they hope Nintendo goes backwards, which if the sales continue to be what they are, I'm not so sure that Nintendo's going to go backwards. As long as things keep selling like crazy, they're not. I don't think Nintendo's dumb. They like making money. So if they keep selling 20 million copies of Zelda, they're not going to stop trying to sell 20 million copies of Zelda and go back to we're cool before. We spent 5 years of development and spent $200 million to sell 4 million copies. I don't know that Nintendo's going to want to go back to that. Top-down Zelda maybe, but that's not going to have 5-6 years of development and $200 million spent on it. So that's a totally different expectation of sales. But I find it interesting because obviously we're talking about my favorite game of all time and just this general topic of what IP is the best Nintendo IP or the most important Nintendo IP or we miss the most. And obviously I have a huge bias for Zelda and a huge bias for Breath of the Wild. But I mean, it can't, to me, it can't really be Zelda. I think Zelda's important today, but it's really only one game that's been the mega blockbuster. Like one.
Right, and I was saying for Switch.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I know you caveated it for Switch. And like you were talking about Mario Kart as separate from Mario. I would say it's a spin-off of Mario, so it's all part of the Mario IP. It would damage the Mario IP to get rid of it, but in general, the Mario IP, I think, is probably bigger overall than just a single spin-off. Like even
Would
when
it
you
also
look at
be
you look at Mario Kart,
as
like 45
Hold on.
million on Switch,
I'm
37
gonna
million
stop
on
the
Wii.
conversation once
Yes,
for a moment.
yes.
I'm pretty sure, and I would have to go back months or even like a year or so to a conversation we had, but I'm fairly confident we had an argument where I was saying Mario Kart and Smash Brothers are spin-offs, and you're like, no, they're their own thing. And here you just admitted that Mario Kart is a spin-off.
No, Smash Bros is not.
You may
Smash
have never
Bros isn't a
said this.
spin-off.
I could be gaslighting you
Mario
accidentally.
Kart's a spin-off, so is Mario Sports Game, so is Mario Party. I mean, literally, it's got Mario in the name. You could argue, there's even an argument that the Super Mario Brothers platforming games are spin-offs because the OG Super Mario Brothers was not that. It was a very different kind of game. But that's just splitting hairs at this point when it comes to the mainline games because they didn't really make a bunch of that kind of Mario game back then. There was like 2 of them. But yes, Mario Kart's absolutely a spin-off. Yes, Mario Kart's absolutely a spin-off. Is it big enough to be considered its own thing? Sure. Is it made by the same development team as Mario? No. But it's a spin-off. It's a kart racing spin-off. It's like saying like when I could see myself arguing Smash Bros wasn't a spin-off. I could see myself making that argument because it doesn't even use the name of any specific particular IP in the name of its title.
I mean, it's clearly a play on Super Mario Brothers.
But is it? So nothing else from Nintendo is Super, like Super Metroid? They've used a Super
it has Bros in
Nintendo.
it. It's obviously inspired off of Super Mario Bros. But it is also like
It's a mashup.
It's
a mashup.
It's a mashup. It's a spin-off of multiple series. I don't know. But they are their
Smash is
own
that
thing.
weird one. Smash is that weird one. I think everyone knows.
But at
Like
the
it's
end
not
of the
like
day,
it's not like
what is this,
Tekken
like,
where
it
it has its own lore and its own characters. Like no, it's a game that takes characters from all these other games and puts them into a different situation than they face in those games. Well, typically, sorry, they've actually brought in like fighting game characters in now, but
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always considered it its own IP specifically because I don't think it's super reliant on any individual IP to push it. It's the collection that makes it exciting.
I mean, it's relying on all the IP.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. But it's that collective.
Yeah.
Like if Mario wasn't in it, but they still had Pokemon, Zelda, Metroid, I think it'd still be big.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they would obviously. I don't know why you'd have all those and not put Mario in. That's kind of a weird point.
Also,
to make,
let's look at it this way: of the original
anyways,
cast of Smash Brothers.
Getting back to my point, I think there when we look at the most important IPs Nintendo has, I think there's only 2. People can argue for other ones, but I mean it's Mario and Pokemon. Mario because it's everything. It's the mascot. It's their merchandise, a hell of a lot of their merchandise is Mario. Just look at today. Mario Lego sets, best-selling brand new Lego sets in 20 years. You look at, obviously, the video games. Like, we could talk about, what's the finger about to correct me on something?
No, I just have the answer now. That's all.
Oh, okay. So, but you look at that, obviously, Mario is the theme of all of their Nintendo World theme parks they're launching. We have Mario movie. Notice we've actually had 2 Mario movies. Is there any other Nintendo franchise but Pokemon that has had even one, let alone 2 movies now? So we have that going on. And there was a TV show at one point as well, although there also was a Zelda one. If we want to give some credit there. Plus there was, can't forget Captain N back in the day. That was all kind of all part of the same sort of shows all supporting each other kind of thing. Nintendo tried to have their own little anime universe back then that all just kind of crashed and burned because none of it was really that great. And on top of that, the figurehead of Nintendo themselves is Shigeru Miyamoto, who is constantly pushing Mario all the time. Now, he made a lot of other IP as well. He made the Zelda. He made Pikmin. He's made Metroid. He made a whole bunch of them. But the bottom line is, Mario, to this day, is one of the most recognizable characters in the world.
Oh, yeah.
So is Pikachu, by the way. Pikachu's way up there, too.
I'll give you that Mario's the most important character.
So when we're talking about, like, as an IP, you can even go like, oh, Mario Kart sells so much. Okay, I think it's a spinoff. Say it's not a spinoff. Okay, well, it's had 2 games sell north of 30 million. But Mario has, I just glanced at the list, has like 4 different titles that have outsold all of the rest of the Mario Kart games. Besides those 2. Those 2 have outsold anything Mario's ever done. But Mario has 4 games that have outsold everything else Mario Kart's ever done. So it's kind of like, okay, so with the casual audience, I can argue Mario Kart is more important. But for the consistency over 30 years, Mario's been more consistent. So it's weird. And obviously,
Mario Kart lives off of Super Mario, right? Like if Super Mario doesn't continue to be a thing, Mario Kart.
Sure. And again, I already said, in my opinion, it's a spinoff, so it's all part of the same IP anyways. I know they started dragging Animal Crossing and Zelda into the most recent one. Who knows, maybe they expand that and it becomes a Nintendo Kart someday. But right now, it's still primarily Mario Kart.
Well, and that was part of one of my questions that I had. Do you guys think that what we know as Mario Kart today would have been as successful as it was if it started out as Nintendo Kart?
No.
I don't know.
Or do you think because it had the Mario name that it was recognizable?
Yeah, I mean,
and
so back...
the Mario name definitely helped to propel the Mario Kart series, so 100%.
Yeah, right. I think the Mario name helped because Mario... I mean, we think Mario is big today. It was really big in the 80s and 90s. But so was Nintendo as a brand. In fact, PlayStation, you owned a PlayStation, people were calling it a Nintendo because Nintendo's name was so big back then. Well, basically, anything video game related was a Nintendo.
Well, yeah, according to parents.
According to the parents, it's all
everything
Nintendo.
was Nintendo. Yeah.
So, like, I do wonder if they just called it Nintendo Kart and it had Mario on the cover, but then it also had, say, Link on the cover. And then it had, they wouldn't have had Pokemon yet, but let's say it would have had something else. Some other, I mean, basically, those were 2 of the biggest ones they had at the time. I guess you have Samus or something. There was Samus, still wasn't that big of a deal. Mario was the big thing. They have Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong would probably be another one they put on the cover. I keep thinking, like, maybe it would have been okay. I don't know if it would have been as big as it is. Mm-hmm. But then I look at the sales, and, like, the sales of it weren't crazy back then anyways. It really didn't get big until, let's see. I just had that page open. I was just looking at the top Switch games, but... I just had the Mario Kart page open, which of course I didn't keep open because I did. So, I mean, it really didn't hit big. If we're completely honest. Mario Kart 64. Mm-hmm. And
that was the second in the series.
Yeah, Super Mario Kart was the first. And even then, we're talking 8-9 million. While Mario games at the time were doing 10 to 15. So. It was kind of interesting. And then sales went down and kind of nosedive. And then DS and Wii obviously revived everything. And then Mario Kart 7 did pretty well, but not as good as DS. Mario Kart 8 on Wii U, obviously, the system didn't do well. But the attach rate was crazy. 8.5 million out of 13? I'd say that's a pretty damn good attach rate. I think every game would like an attach rate like that. What is that, like 75%? That's a huge attach rate. But But obviously, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is in a category of its own. Nothing's completely.
65.
Even Mario Kart Wii, like Mario Kart Wii to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like the sales gap is literally an entire Mario Kart game. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is really in a category of its own. If you guys want to count the Wii U sales in as well, then I mean it's over 50 mil, and that's just it might get. It's probably gonna. In my humble opinion, I think it's going to get over 50 million, just the deluxe version of the game before it's all said and done. That thing is still in the top 10 sales like everywhere, all the time. It's one of the first games that people buy when they have a Switch. It's like literally almost 1 out of every 2 people that buy a Switch end up buying Mario Kart.
I'm trying to look up when Mario Kart started outselling the mainline Marios.
Well, it's all over the place because the mainline Mario's sales are all over the place. Some of them sold really bored. Some of them did really well.
Definitely outsold Super Mario Kart on Super Nintendo. I know there's multiple mainline Marios, but the first one. And then N64, Mario 64, to your point. I'm sorry, I had to sneeze.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. So Mario 64, according to this chart here, sold almost 12 million.
Yeah, I think
which is 3 million more
Mario
than
Kart was like around 9ish.
Yeah, so it's about 3 million more than Mario.
I want to say Double Dash outsold Sunshine, but I can't find the numbers.
Did Nintendo ever give official numbers for GameCube stuff? I mean, I'm seeing about 6 million, but this is I'm seeing a 6 million number here for Sunshine, but it's not. That's by no means official.
Mario Kart Wii destroyed Mario Galaxy.
Sure did. Did. Well, see, Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe are, I think, the 2 best-selling Mario entity games of all time. I don't think there's anything that have passed them.
Crazy.
But we've seen other games, like obviously Super Mario Bros. 3, 17 million. This, by the way, this isn't counting re-releases. Re-releases are a whole other thing if you guys want to count those in totality of lifetime sales, but I'm just looking at sales on that given platform. So like for Mario, Super Mario Bros. On NES is the one. That admittedly is the one at 40 mil. So that one is the one that number 2. It's behind Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But I mean that no denying. You want to know how big Mario was? There you go. The first time it went into a full platformer, 40 mil in 1985. I mean, it didn't sell that in 1985, but the lifetime of Nintendo Entertainment System from 85 on forward. And then you get Super Mario Bros. 2, which, yeah, that one didn't sell very well. It got re-released in a whole bunch of different versions because it wasn't really technically a normal Mario game. Then you have Mario Bros. 3 at 17. Super Mario Land on Game Boy at 18 million. Super Mario World on SNES, 20 mil. So like Mario doing big numbers all the time. Kart's had like 2 massive games. Yeah. Well, 3. DS sold well as well. We can't. That's sold north of 20 million on DS.
So I think it's fair to concede that Mario is more important than Mario Kart. More important than Smash Brothers.
And if you think about this too, the combined sales of Mario Kart on DS and Mario Kart on Wii is right just under 60 million. New Super Mario Brothers DS 30 million. New Super Mario Bros. Wii 31 million. Just edging out, and this isn't counting Galaxy and all the rest. Obviously, it's a little bit unfair. I was just trying to take the 2 best-selling Mario games on each of those platforms because more Mario games come out more frequently than Mario Kart. Mario Kart's once a generation.
Not lately.
Well, no, not lately. Not lately. Wait, no. We got no. I can't even say that because we got one on phone. We got Mario Kart Tour. That was new, and we technically got a new one on Switch, home circuit. Let's not forget we did get a new one. Yeah. It just isn't what we thought it would be, and it actually is kind of fun. But it sold well. It's just not doing normal Mario Kart kind of numbers because it's involving getting an RC car. And hey guys, I don't know if you guys have played Mario Kart Home Circuit. It's a lot of fun, but it's really hard to get a lot of people together to play.
And this is it. Like
you have an answer, definitive answer.
Here's the answer. The answer is not Splatoon. The answer is not Animal Crossing. The answer is not Pokemon. It's not Zelda. It's not Smash. It's not Mario Kart. It's not Super Mario. The most important Nintendo IP and there's no debate in my mind after I thought about it for like however long this conversation has been, is Donkey Kong. Because
I know what you're about to say. All right, go on. I'll let you say it.
Because, well, one, Mario came from Donkey Kong first off, right? Mario would not exist without Donkey Kong. You could argue Mario is a spin-off of Donkey Kong. I mean, that's actually the truth.
Jumpman.
But
yep.
But if it wasn't for the existence of Donkey Kong, Nintendo would not have entered the home console gaming space and by extension the mobile gaming extension space. Donkey Kong, basically, the story is this: Nintendo wanted to get into North America. They were struggling to be successful in the arcade realm. And what they did, they had this game called Radar Scope. You may never heard of it. That's where Nintendo was at the time. And they needed to find a way to make things work. And at the time, what was popular? King Kong. So they came up with this idea, and they reworked the radar scopes because they weren't selling. They had made this huge investment to put a whole bunch of like arcade cabinets of this game Radar Scope, and they just were all in a warehouse. And they created some technology to change the software in the cabinets, and they turned them into Donkey Kong. And that game went on to become an incredible like viral success. And that success is what eventually it's what pushed Nintendo to have a foothold in the Western market. It's what led to them eventually launching the Nintendo Entertainment System, and then, the rest is history. So I think you can make a very fair and easy argument by saying that Donkey Kong is the most important IP for Nintendo, because without it, they would have never made home consoles or portable gaming systems. Mario would have not existed, and nothing else would have evolved beyond that. So that's why I'll say Donkey Kong. Not to mention Donkey Kong. It's hard looking up the numbers, but Donkey Kong was an insanely powerfully selling game at the time.
They didn't keep as big.
People knew what Donkey Kong was. Donkey Kong was extremely popular.
Yep.
I mean, that's why Nintendo became Nintendo.
I only have one. I only have one counter to you, and it's not really even a counter to the point you made, because you're talking about this is most important. I think it's pretty clear DK was inarguably one of the most important, if not the most important IPs, considering everything that spun off it. I think even the origins of Kirby as a character can be traced a little bit back to something in Donkey Kong. I can't remember what it was. There was a story I read about this a long time ago.
Isn't Kirby named after a vacuum cleaner?
Yeah, maybe. I have no idea. I mean, there is Kirby vacuum cleaners, but
yeah.
So look, and it makes sense. He sucks. It's a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Anyways, what I think is interesting though is that it's easier for me to kind of dismiss it, because the topic says, "What is Nintendo's best IP today?"
Oh.
And Donkey Kong is clearly not that important today. Important to the history of Nintendo, important to the history of Mario and everything. It's a very important character. There's a reason DK is in the Mario movie, guys. He's an important part of Nintendo's history. Not necessarily a big deal today. Today's big deals, still Mario. Mario's maintained being a big deal this entire time, which is credit to them. I mean, Mickey Mouse couldn't even maintain the same sort of popularity Mario has over the years. And Mickey Mouse is a really well-known character, and even today,
wasn't Mickey Mouse popular for a long time before? What was his
God, whenever
reign of popularity?
Yeah, I mean, Mickey Mouse was popular for longer, absolutely. And by the way, this isn't me saying Mickey Mouse isn't popular. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and all that, they still have Mickey Mouse stuff happening. My kids know who Mickey Mouse is. Okay, I'll give them that. But they only know, because for a while we had cable TV and had no Netflix, so then they had to watch Disney Channel and stuff like that.
Disney needs to make a new Mickey Mouse movie, like a CGI animated Pixar,
they used to make them way back in the day too.
Movie.
Yeah,
and it used to be like their biggest movie of the year.
Yeah, way back in the 50s, and I don't know, man. It's crazy. Maybe they'll get back to it someday. I have no idea. But and this isn't me saying that Disney's forgetting about Mickey Mouse. They still do a ton with Mickey. They've really specialized Mickey a lot more than they used to. Mickey was for kids, but Mickey he used to be a bit more adult than you guys might realize. If you ever get an opportunity, there's a reason Disney won't re-air most of the original Mickey Mouse cartoons because they were not.
There's some weird stuff, man.
There's some. It's adult. Stuff. It's very adult. Okay, you want to ever claim a company was brainwashing your kids?
The memes come from somewhere. But anyway, going back though,
But yeah, best IP today.
Get the title of the
yeah.
podcast, best Nintendo IP today.
Yeah,
and we did talk about different definitions, right? So we're talking about in terms of most important. I think I stand by Donkey Kong because everything came from it. But if we're talking about most important today, I think my argument from earlier about it being Zelda might hold weight.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It definitely was important to Switch.
Depends how you define it, though.
But I look at it like if my thing is, and this is why by the way, my answer, guys, is Mario. I'll listen to someone who wants to argue Pokemon. Pokemon's huge, no doubt, across all forms of media, all merchandise. One of the largest apps and one of the largest apps on the phone. And while we can talk about how there's multiple companies involved with all of this, the IP of Pokemon is actually owned by Nintendo. The actual copyright of Pokemon, Nintendo owns. Now, everything else about it is co-owned in a whole bunch of billions of ways.
It has still made Nintendo a boatload of money.
And Nintendo does make a boat. They don't just make their typical 30% cut on a Pokemon game. But it's significantly different because they share development costs with the Pokemon company on that. But so Pokemon's huge, and I'll never deny that. They just had we're getting 2 this year. It's just I don't know that Pokemon is a bigger deal for if they lost Pokemon, it would be a huge deal today to lose Pokemon because it is massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. It has the number one most watched anime in the United States right now is Pokemon.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to keep holding that. There's a couple that are pushing it, but who knows?
I think it's funny that I know that Pokemon is an anime. It's just like when I think of anime, I don't.
You don't think of Pokemon, but it actually is one. No one ever thinks of it, but then you look it up, no, it is. It's anime. It's just no one ever thinks of it that way, except that it's weird.
Yeah, it's just in my mind when I think of anime, I guess I'm thinking of anime that are a little bit more
mature,
right? And Pokemon is an anime, but it's a more kid-oriented anime. And I think the important point that should be made here is that anime is not like for one particular audience. Anime is just a style of creating visuals. That's pretty much it. It's like it's Japanese animation, and there's cooking shows, there's romance, there's action shows, adventure, there's Pokemon, like there's all sorts of stuff.
Sure. So how I'm basing it today is. Basically, I'm going just off sales because Zelda's huge.
Very objective.
It is very objective. Well, I mean, it's an objective way to look at it. Zelda's a big deal, and I think was the perfect launch game. But it only has a single. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just going to give Mario credit for this. So there's only 2 games in the top 19. You know what? We'll go 3 games. I'll give Link's Awakening his credit. So there's 3 games in the top 20 that have a Zelda character in the game. Okay, so we got Breath of the Wild up there. Link's Awakening, the remake, comes in at number 20, and then Smash, which has Zelda characters in it. Now Smash is going to count for other IPs as well. Mario wise, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Almost half of their top 10 best-selling games on Switch feature Mario in it. All of them have Mario in the title except for Smash. So that's how big of a deal Mario is, that Nintendo's most popular, quote-unquote, home console, maybe best-selling console ever when it's all said and done, almost half of their top 20 best-selling games have Mario in them.
Well, and one of the points that I was going to try to make earlier, too, was that...
Like, Pokemon doesn't even have as many in the top 20.
Was that, how, Mario is important. I mean, you look at the original Smash roster, and you take out all the Mario characters, that's a fourth of your roster.
Is it the fourth of the actual Smash Bros. Ultimate roster, though?
No, No. I'm talking about the original.
The original, yeah.
So
the
you
original.
take out a Mario,
yeah,
you take
so
out the Mario
what
characters.
is it, 12 characters you count for the DLC?
I think he's
Not
talking about Mario
DLC, not
64.
DLC,
Mario
but, you know,
64.
the extra
Or,
characters you unlock.
Smash 64.
Yeah.
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 It's a 12 character roster, and 3 of them are Mario characters. Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi.
Yeah.
Or
are three of
Yoshi
them
was like an
Zelda, though,
original.
too?
No.
I think
No,
wasn't
it's
it
only one.
Link? Was Link the only one in the
I
original
think
roster?
I'm almost
Was
positive. I have to
Link
look
the
at that again here.
I'm trying to remember. I know Pikachu
so
was
it's
the only
Mario-
Pokemon.
So Mario, Yoshi,
you could argue
Donkey
Kong.
Link. Yeah, that was kind
Yeah.
of a gray area. I didn't know if you wanted to count Donkey Kong as a Mario character or again, as you can argue Mario
in
Donkey.
the Mario movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mario's born from the world of Donkey
Mario
Kong.
has 3, arguably 4, or if we want to call it, Donkey Kong has 3,
Arguably 4. You're right.
Yeah.
But and
No.
a bunch of other franchises have 1, right?
Link has 1. Smash has 2, or Pokemon has 2.
Yep, Jigglypuff. Yeah, I forgot Jigglypuff was on the original roster.
Yeah.
Then Captain Falcon from F-Zero has 1, which
Yep.
is an interesting inclusion since I guess they were still making F-Zero at the time.
Ness.
Obviously, you have Ness, which that was also a very interesting inclusion at the time.
Ness, Samus, Kirby, and
Fox, Samus, yeah. So these are basically what you could say Nintendo at the time of N64 thought were their biggest characters. Was this roster. Interesting that Jigglypuff was one of the most popular Pokemon back then, apparently.
It's cute.
It is cute. It is cute, and everyone remembers the Jigglypuff, and then everyone falls asleep.
And then scribbling on the face with the marker.
Of course,
Obviously
yeah,
from
whatever.
from the show.
Yeah.
The anime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I to me, I look at it as sport today. Plus, then you get outside of it. Obviously, we have the Super Mario Bros. Movie, 23 million views. Actually, I think it's at 28 million views now between the 5 major YouTube channels, doing huge numbers with 95% approval rating.
There's
on
other
that
trailers
stuff.
out there, right? Like it's probably more.
Yeah. That's just counting the 5 major ones. There's a billion channels that have it up. And this isn't even counting TikTok and everywhere else.
Does it account the different languages?
No, it's only English.
No. Yeah, there's probably like a few hundred million views.
It's probably in Chinese and French and everything. Like it's just counting just US, just not
Brazilian.
even US, English, so including UK and Australia. But yeah, it's doing massive numbers. Obviously we talked about the merchandise. It's hard to measure the merchandise
It was
because Nintendo.
number 1 at least for a day on YouTube. The Mario Direct.
Yep. So
Movie
it's huge. And as much as I love Zelda, guys, they don't release enough of them for me to feel like they actually rely on Zelda. When they do it, they try to do it right. I'll give them that. They try to do it right when they do it. They don't always get it right, but they try. And by the way, I know, guys, there's been a Zelda something that releases every year. I understand that, but a bunch of ports and remasters and spin-offs, none of which sell extremely well, aren't really what I worry about when it comes to the Zelda IP. I think that's more Nintendo keeping Zelda in the thoughts of people, whether they buy it or not. So by the time the next big one comes, it doesn't feel like it's been 6 years since they last heard about Zelda. That's what I think they're doing anyways. Nintendo obviously is probably making profits on it as well. I'm sure they're not doing it if it wasn't profitable.
For a comparison's sake, this is a bad comparison, but I'm going to say it just to humor
Happens.
you.
Here we go.
Mario is like the Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Nintendo IP team, and Zelda's like the Chris Middleton.
Yes.
Like Chris Middleton, like
Love it.
he's probably maybe a better closer than Giannis, right? So at times he looks cooler.
I think he's a better opener.
But if we go like every game to game, stat by stat, who's pulling most of the weight and getting you from beginning to end? It's Giannis or Mario.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you on that.
Zelda's. If there's
For
probably
your
a better
comparison,
out there,
I would
but,
probably argue that. Okay, we're doing NBA comparisons. Everyone's like all confused. But we're talking about my favorite NBA team. But I would say Mario is Giannis, most important person on the team. And I'd say Pokemon is probably the Middleton, because Pokemon never opens. Pokemon never opens. Pokemon closes. Pokemon's always one of the final games to come out on a platform. So Pokemon always closes and closes strong. And then I would say Zelda's kind of like a Drew Holiday. Every handful of years, or in this case, every handful of games, he comes up big.
yeah.
But he's not doing it every game. And that's kind of the way Zelda is. So I would say those are the 3 core. And it's arguable, by the way, guys. Zelda technically only has 1 game up there. Animal Crossing's already got 2 games up in those numbers. Almost every Splatoon game's up in those numbers. So but it's just Zelda's just been doing it for longer. But I would say it could reach a point that if Zelda can't cross 10 million again, which to me just sounds insane to think Tears of the Kingdom doesn't do it. But let's just say Zelda never crosses 10 million again the rest of my life. But every Splatoon game's doing 15 million plus. Okay, well, Splatoon takes over for Zelda. I can't deny that. I can't deny facts. But yeah, I think that's my conclusion. Eric, you got anything you want to add? Because we are going to talk some Mario.
Right. No, for sure. But, I mean, obviously, Mario is Nintendo's mascot. I mean, sure. If you want to argue, I didn't.
Well, what caught me off guard when we were talking about this, when Andres was comparing stuff, I was like, how many of the top 20 have Mario in the game? And I'm like, holy crap! I mean, this one almost felt like this was a bad topic. The conclusion was there in front of us the whole time.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I mean, we also kind of morph this into most important versus best. Which
is still subjective.
Which you can argue is most important.
But best is still subjective.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Like, people might argue, yeah, I always buy Mario, but I enjoy Zelda more.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fair argument. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of people that buy every Mario game, but go, yeah, but I like Zelda games more. Mm-hmm. I enjoy them more. They don't come around as often, and I love them a lot more. So that's why best is so subjective, because for a lot of you guys, the best Nintendo IP today is going to be whatever your favorite IP today is. Is your favorite IP Animal Crossing from Nintendo? Then that's probably Nintendo's best IP for you. Mm-hmm. But the best IP for Nintendo, I think, is clearly Mario. But that wasn't the question, technically. Mm-hmm. So this is why the whole debate started with, how do we quantify something that I didn't give it a definition of, because I didn't want people to... I wanted this discussion, because if I would have gave a definition, we would have just said Mario and been done in a minute.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
But oh, look at that cutie over there.
And then
showing off the pet.
I know
names.
one other thing too, though. I mean, best in like money wise isn't. I'm pretty sure that's Pokemon. Because
it's a little different because they have to split the revenue so many ways.
Right. But I mean, from what I can't remember where I saw it.
Pokemon is one of the largest IPs that exist in the entire world. I think it's actually bigger than Mario just in terms of its IP value, because it's huge, and so it's not just a major video game. It's also like literally I think it might be number 1 or number 2 in the trading card space. Mm-hmm. It's also the number 1 anime in the world, even though it feels weird to call it that. It is what it is. So it's number 1 in all these different areas that collectively make the IP just extremely valuable. I mean, even Pokemon Go is one of the largest apps to exist in phone history. Like, it's anything Pokemon does is probably going to end up being one of the largest things in a given category. Because it's just so damn big. I mean, heck, Mario didn't translate to phones as well. Mario Run never came close to Pokemon Go numbers. Mm-hmm. So...
Again, that's just what we just talk about sales, but I mean, you know, it's what makes it. It's what keep the lights on, right?
Yeah. Well,
yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of keeping the lights on, you guys can go ahead and buy some Nintendo Prime merch.
There you go.
Link down in the description. Actually, I don't even know if there's a link in the description, to be completely honest. I haven't mentioned Nintendo Prime merch since what? Prime Gaming Fest?
There's merch there.
There's a merch link? Cool. Look at that.
I don't know if it's the correct merch link.
I don't know. I've been copy-pasting the same link for 3 years.
Copy pasta.
It might not even work. I have no idea.
It does.
Yay! You can buy some merch.
I don't know if it's the correct one, but it's the Streamlabs one. So I'm guessing it's the correct one.
If you see your logo on your shirt in there, it's the right one.
I do.
Joyce
there we go.
Is asking, most important opinion, what does Ruby think? I think Ruby thinks that Metroid is the most important
there you go.
Franchise
there
to Nintendo.
He wanted to find a way to slip it in. Oh, yeah. Use the cat.
Well,
Use the cat.
I mean, like, if I think at some point, if I've shared a photo of her like watching Metroid. Metroid was the first video game that she experienced, and
nice.
You know, given that she's a young girl, you know, she really took a lot of inspiration from the strength of Samus to be able to dominate in a very scary universe and show that, you know, yeah.
All right.
She can kick ass.
All right. So next up, guys, we're gonna talk about the Mario movie because the trailer happened after our last podcast last week, so we didn't get to talk about it on the podcast. Our third topic, I'm gonna keep pushing that. I keep pushing that topic back. For those who don't know, it's a Zelda topic that I've been wanting to talk about for like multiple weeks, but it's whatever. We'll keep pushing it back because as long as I have really good other topics, it's a nice sleeper topic that we could talk about Tears of the Kingdom speculation and theories and everything pretty much anytime we want. But Mario movie, it's still relevant now, still a big deal. And we got to see our first look at it. All the speculation, all the what's up with this voice cast, and we got the trailer. And worldwide perception is great. I mean, undeniable. The facts are out there. 95% plus approval rating. Like to dislike ratios, I guess. Every poll that I've seen ran about it. Most people seem to think it was pretty good. Doesn't mean there's not criticisms that people have. There always is. But for the most part, this was significantly better received than the very first ever Sonic trailer for their movie. Now, a lot of that was because the Sonic design was so bad.
Yep.
Let me tell you right now, without a doubt in my mind, the Mario movie is going to be the best-selling video game adaptation of all time, and it's not going to be close.
I'm going to go beyond this. I think it can crack the top 15 of the best box office performing animation movies of all time.
That's crazy.
That's insane. Think about how many big ones there are. There's some big ones. Like, I'm not talking top five. Top five's a little crazy. You start saying, "Oh, we're getting up into the Frozen territory. We're getting up into like $1 billion." I'm like, I have no idea. But I just have a feeling.
I mean, the thing is, from the trailer, I think you can say this is already clearly like the best looking Illumination movie we've seen. And it's based. I mean, if you didn't know Nintendo, right? If you were like a super casual that didn't understand the inner workings of who does what, you would think, oh, that's a Disney movie. Like it looks like that. Like it has that level of quality. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, that's a tough. I don't know. I don't know the numbers, but I know that this movie is going to be incredibly successful. Like that's it. It's going to be a good movie too. Like it's not going to. It may not be like the best movie of all time in terms of like reception, but it's going to be considered a fun, quality movie, and it's going to sell really, really well.
So now we're getting a sequel.
We're going to watch it.
Mm-hmm. We're getting a sequel.
Oh yeah, that sequel's gonna be Donkey Kong.
Well, I mean, like there'll be another Super Mario Bros. 2. Like there'll be like a legitimate same branding type movie.
After seeing this trailer, I now believe that there's gonna be
a whole universe
Nintendo movies. Period. Yeah. Like they're gonna start making.
Well, they didn't buy a movie production studio because they weren't planning to make more movies.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure how much that is for is gonna be dedicated just to movies, but
I think it's gonna be for shorts or TV shows.
Play a vital role.
Either way, Nintendo clearly is going to be expanding. One thing, okay, so I mean, no doubt it's popular. It did well. Numbers are good. People are going to show up. Probably going to sell out opening weekend, and we'll see from there if it keeps selling out. Because I think a lot of staying power for movies with this level of what I guess we can call it hype. This level of hype is going to be obviously it has to be good. Because that's where you get the rewatchers. That's where you get people going to the movie theater 2, 3, 4 times, paying exorbitant prices because it's that good and they want to experience it with other people in their life for the first time all over again and see their reactions to it live. That happens, guys. Some of the biggest movies of all time, you start looking at the Star Wars movies, like people go to those things, the Avengers movies, they go to those things 3, 4, 5 times with different people, family members, different friends, because they want to see the reactions. They know what's coming. And it's still just as entertaining that second, third, fourth, fifth time through, and they get to watch everyone else see it for the first time. And that's a common movie-going thing that helps movies do so well in theaters. This is even considering how long it's going to stay in theaters exclusively before it ends up on some sort of streaming service like Peacock or something. And who knows? I mean, if it's killing it at the box office, that just makes them keep it at the box office even longer. It's usually how that goes, but we'll see. What I want to know, though, because no doubt it's popular, did well. Overall, general reaction of the public is, yeah, it's pretty good. I want to see more. Eric, I'm going to go to you, the big Mario guy. Mario 64, I guess.
Yeah,
Hey, you loved Odyssey too.
I did.
Anyways, formerly big Mario guy.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? Because this is obviously, we never got this as a kid. We had a TV show and we had a live action movie. We never had a full.
Which means I forgot it at home because I forgot.
We never had
the
a
copy for you.
full animated actual Mario movie, and now we got our first look. What like your reactions on the whole shebang?
I've been a massive fan of Illumination movies in the past, so it kind of hit exactly kind of what I was expecting to a certain extent, because that type of Illumination, like, comedy feel, it just kind of hit that, and I'm super excited for it, and I think it's just going to be amazing.
Do you yield?
Yeah.
Oh, that. I just thought it was like, look, it had the Illumination comedy. That whole penguin sequence was just
right. Yeah.
like, I'm like, that's classic Illumination comedy, and like having the King of the Penguins just be that cocky to think he actually
Right.
instilled fear with
Right.
a few snowballs was just like, yes. So obviously so the animation you thought was good. The way the storytelling went so far good. Obviously a big topic for a lot of Nintendo people is the voices. What do we think on the voices?
Jack Black is like perfect for Bowser. The rest of them we really didn't hear a whole lot of, so I can't really judge.
We didn't tend to hear a lot of Jack Black either. It was like 3 lines.
Yeah, but he was kind of the more prominent, like.
Well, it's also his 3 lines feel like the way he did it is repeatable for the whole movie.
Right.
But like, I don't know that Kamek's going to talk a lot, but I thought the voice for Kamek was fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
The voice for Toad I thought was fine, but then again, I don't know. I listened through the trailer like 5 times, just the audio, and I kept saying, I kind of hope Toad isn't talking for like 20 minutes in this movie. I don't know if Toad is supposed to have a bit of an annoying voice. Like, that's part of the character.
Oh no, absolutely.
It's part of the character.
I mean, thank God it's not the the really really obnoxious voice, but no, it's I'm gonna wait until more trailers come out where you actually can hopefully hear
so you're not
the voices.
You're not going to give a hot take on Chris Pratt sounding like Chris Pratt?
I mean, I don't know what else I expect him to sound like.
I mean,
but
Bowser sounds like Jack Black, guys. Like, he does put a little growl into it, but if you actually listen, it's Jack. You could totally tell it's Jack Black. It's just Jack Black doing Jack Black. It's just Jack Black doing Jack Black is awesome for certain characters, and this just happens to be one of those characters, at least to me, that kind of fits.
No, it fit that, like, the build of the character. It felt like the correct voice for that character. And same with, I mean, the voices seemed like the little bit that we heard from the rest of the characters, they feel like they fit. I mean, I don't know how much of it was, how much Mario's voice was actually heard versus Toad's versus, everything else. But Bowser did, out of the whole thing, he had the most lines, even though it was 3. He had pretty much the most lines. So that's why it was, I thought you can judge that based on that.
Yeah, what is it? He had opened the gates.
Yep.
And then asked, did he yield? And he says, I do not.
And then
he says, who's going to stop me?
Yeah.
But.
And Mario had 3 lines as well, but one of them was super short. So most people only considered he had 2.
Kind of, what is this place? Yeah.
Yeah, what is this place? And then
He also had the grunts from falling.
Yeah, and then Mushroom Kingdom, here we come. Those are the 2 big lines. So I kind of look at it like voice acting wise, I wasn't displeased with any of it. Like, when Chris Pratt's going to be the voice of Mario, my expectation was Chris Pratt's going to sound like Chris Pratt because he's Chris Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted someone to sound like an American.
Basically. Like, you can hear the other versions of it. Like, people get excited about the French version, apparently, and I'm like, that's cool. I'm glad that you're really excited about it. My thing is even though that French line does sound... Sense? it sounds closer to the Mario we know and love. I also need context. Should Mario be acting stupidly excited in that moment when he's in a strange land?
Should he sound Italian?
Yeah,
When he's from New York.
when he's from Brooklyn. What's the backstory
Yeah.
before Mario gets here? Because it's not going to start with Mario just shooting into the kingdom. There's going to be something that sets it up.
It's gonna be Chris Pratt.
It's gonna suck live action Chris Pratt,
live
like
action
the
Chris
Lego
Pratt,
movie
and
with
then
Will Ferrell.
Gets sucked
yeah.
into the warp pipe somehow.
But like that's kind of my thing is I don't know if in that moment Mario is like to us we're like this is the Mushroom Kingdom, we should be excited, but we're in the
he's confused.
In the context of it, he should be confused as all hell. So I don't know that I need more context to know if that line was said in the way that I like. Obviously, they think it was said in the way they wanted it portrayed, but I just don't have the context. So I kind of look at it like this: Chris Pratt sounds like Chris Pratt, and if that's what Mario is going to sound like, I'm kind of fine with it. Like he throws a little Brooklyn on, and it's cool. Like someone played the clip of the Where Are We compared to the original 1993 live action one, and it sounds kind of similar, and it goes, yeah, but no one's issue with that movie was about how Mario sounded. That didn't bother anybody because the backstory set up, he's a plumber from Brooklyn. He sounds like someone from Brooklyn. Like, okay, and if Mario's again a plumber from Brooklyn, he's supposed to kind of sound sort of like a plumber from Brooklyn. He's not supposed to sound like someone from Italy.
Yeah, the problem with that movie is that it's not actually a Mario movie.
Well, we're not gonna get into that debate, but
It's also not a good story.
oh boy,
But
here
it's
we
still
go.
cool.
Here we go. Here we go. We're not
That's it.
talking
That's
about
it.
the old
That's it.
Mario
That's all.
movie. I brought it up. I did bring up the comparison, I guess. But yeah, I honestly, my whole take is the animation was fantastic. To me, this is beyond any sort of animation Illumination has ever done. And I don't just mean in terms of how the faces animate and how the characters actually move. The detail in the animations, to me, is something that
Except for Mario's butt.
I mean, it's detailed. It's detailed so
yes,
much I know
I mean-
it's not there.
Very true. the blue jeans are like
Like
little,
jeans.
like jeans.
The jeans, yeah.
His bibs. Are
So I
crazy.
thought the animations were amazing. What we saw, the vertical slice scripts we saw were fine. So the writing seems like it's okay, at least so far, but we don't really know enough to determine that. So obviously going to have a bunch of comedy. It's a family movie. Of course it was going to have a bunch of comedy in it. And it's Mario. You got to be silly. You got to be whimsical. You got to have, Mario almost touching something that Toad says he's going to die from, but oh wait, no, you're not. Never mind. This one's fine. Like, yeah, you're going to have this comedy in it. It's Illumination. They do that kind of comedy. And obviously the biggest issue that I was always going to have was all these big name voice actors don't always work out in animated movies. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. And I will say my reaction so far to what we had Kamek, Bowser, Toad, and Mario.
And Luigi.
I mean,
Did you
We
really
only
say
heard.
a lot?
Look, I'm gonna go on a little tiny rant. Every time I hear people talk about the Mario movie, they just say we haven't heard Luigi yet, but we did. We heard him screaming and running. And let me explain something to you about Luigi. That's his thing. He's the scaredy cat. He's the one that's gonna be spooked and running and going crazy, and that's
So he's
what we
not gonna
heard him
talk?
doing, and it sounded great.
yeah, but
Honestly.
but I could argue anybody can just scream. Like that doesn't really tell me what his voice sounds
Honestly,
like.
I had no problem with the voice. I had more problem with the model. The model looked weird to me. The Luigi model.
The Luigi model. So I was thinking about the models for a second because even Mario's it said looks just a smidge off compared to expectations, and I sat there and I'm like, I look at the model and they did it with Bowser as well, and no one complained about it. The models, and guys, this happens in animation. They do this all the time. They're modeled after the voice actors, but these are pre-established characters, so they're altering them just slightly to look a smidge like the voice actors. Like there's a moment when Bowser does the one grin. That's Jack Black.
Yeah.
You look at it like that's just Jack Black.
The wide,
Yeah.
like he did the very comical, cynical. He almost looked a little bit like Joker in that moment.
Yeah. And when I slowed down and went a little rewatching the Mario segments, I'm like, oh, the alterations to his face make him actually look a smidge more like Chris Pratt. I get it. And then I looked at Luigi slowly. I'm like, oh yeah, Charlie Day. Okay, I get it. I get what they're doing, and I'm kind of okay with it because okay, when a face looks like it just feels off-putting because we're so used to things looking a certain way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a movie, and I'm kind of cool if it doesn't look the same.
Let me explain why Luigi looks a little weird to me. By the way, I'm not saying I'm worried about this, right? Like, I think it's gonna be fine, but Mario's already like a little, like it's a little weird, but I'm like, you know what? It fits, it works.
Sure.
But Luigi is like a taller, lankier version of Mario, right? So with Mario, he's small enough to work to still kind of fit like that cartoony, cute character. But with Luigi, because he's just a little bit taller, a little bit longer, he's closer to more of a typical human shape. So
yes, he is. Yeah, with a
it looks a
giant
little bit
schnoz.
more uncanny.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's one of those. I think. I look. I was never bothered by Luigi. I didn't really feel like I saw enough of him to be bothered by him. However, it'll grow on me. I don't. There's nothing I saw in the trailer that I'm like, yeah, I'll never get over this. Oh, I'll never get over Chris Pratt's slight Brooklyn voice. No, I'll get over it. Oh, I'll never get over Luigi's little bit of a weird face. I'll get over it.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I think by the time I'm about 20 minutes into the video, I'm just not going to care about these little piddly stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's good. Now, if the movie's bad, that's when all these little nitpicky things come out, and it's like, well, it wasn't very good anyways, and so now let's point out all the other things I didn't like, besides the fact that the story wasn't good, the script wasn't good, it wasn't funny, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, it's just bad story, it's just everything's bad, so now I'm going to be nitpicky about other things. I think as long as the movie's really damn good, and guys, when I say really damn good, I'm not talking like, oh my god, it's going to be Toy Story level kind of story. I have no idea. Maybe it will. But
I mean, like Toy Story's great, but like I don't. It's
more so like the OG. I'm not talking like obviously they stretched out that over multiple movies, and I would argue it never really quite recaptured the magic of the original.
the Mario movie just has to be fun.
Yes. I think it's meant to be a fun movie. It's a fun family
It just
movie.
has to be a story that makes sense. It has to be like a feel good movie. Like for example, you look at an Avengers movie, a typical Avengers movie. That's kind of like it doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It just has to follow like a solid story formula. Have an arc. Have to have your character arcs and resolve it all at the end and have been a fun good time. And that's it. That's it.
Although, if they don't make the "your princess is in another castle" joke in this movie, I'm going to be pissed.
I'm not.
Because that's a freaking great joke that is just sitting there for them to plot.
My problem with that, it's not if they do it and it works, sure. But I am okay with them not trying to put in all sorts of weird meme jokes or things like that. Just because if it's forced and it doesn't fit, it's forced and it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Don't do it. So
yeah, the way I feel is
naturally, go for it.
I want a movie to be a movie. Look, it's cool to get all the video game references, but it's also if it doesn't really fit with what they're doing, then just don't put it in. Like that's why. Like I get it. I want the reference, or I want this, or there's like this certain thing I want to appear. Like if Mario isn't stomping Goombas, I'm gonna be mad. Like, but if it doesn't fit with what they're doing, it's fine. Like the movie, the biggest mistake I think video game movies make is when they try to be like the video game. It doesn't work. You can't be the video game. You're a different medium. You need to create something that works in that medium where the audience isn't in control of what's happening.
I think it's interesting you say that because I almost feel like the issue is the other way around, where a video game adaptation doesn't appropriately represent the video game. But I think that's where it becomes an issue because it's actually both. That's the problem, right? Like so, you'll have the issue where let's take a look at the Mario movie, the original live action.
Sure.
That doesn't represent Mario as a brand at all, and it's terrible, right? But give me an example of where it's the other direction where they're trying to make it feel like the video game, and because of that, it's bad.
Give you an example?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one. Like I think personally, I think the formula is make something where the people who are involved know the series, and it's constructed in a way where it's celebratory and representative of the brand or the IP, but still done in a way where it's a proper story at the same time. which is why Detective Pikachu worked really well. Because Detective Pikachu wasn't based off the normal games. Detective Pikachu was a very narrative-focused game on the 3DS, right? So they basically just adapted that, and it worked. And then they threw in a whole bunch of Pokemon love and references, and it worked as a movie. I haven't seen a Sonic movie, so I can't really speak for those. But that's why
I could argue
Pikachu
that.
worked.
Well, I mean, like I love the Detective Pikachu game, but like the story that's told in the movie isn't the same as the game.
It's based off of it.
Yeah, but I mean, Mario movie's based off of Mario. It doesn't. It's not gonna. It's kind of like it's built in the world with the same premise. Hey, you have a talking Pikachu, and you have your same.
Well, like for
base
example,
character.
they do a Zelda movie, and the Zelda movie is just Link going to 6 temples and then fighting Ganondorf at the end. Probably not a good idea, right? But
And
for
only
the
saying,
Mario
"Yeah."
movie, if the story is, hey, there's a princess, like they can come
silent
up with
film.
some,
We have to
with
read
something.
it. Text boxes in the film.
Yeah.
Absolute
bottom.
silence. Otherwise, just some light music in the background. Oh, this music's really epic. Yeah, too bad I don't notice it because I'm too busy reading the lines.
Yeah.
But no, like I could give some examples. Obviously, there's examples both ways where like something steers too far away from the IP. Then examples where something steers a little too close. I think one, I don't think Mario's having a problem with that at all, at least from what we've seen so far. Like Mushroom Kingdom looks different than we've ever seen it.
It's the best Mushroom Kingdom.
But
I've
yeah,
ever seen.
but I think that's most people's reaction is we kind of wish Mushroom Kingdom was like this. Like we've never seen it like this is incredible. We've never seen a Mushroom Kingdom like this. Because it's kind of done in a way that the games could never really realize. And that's awesome. That's a way of taking something that is in the game. Mushroom Kingdom's a thing in the game, but then doing something with it that really would only happen in the movies unless Mario completely changes the kind of game it is to be, I don't know, more Zelda, more Assassin's Creed like, and you're actually fully exploring a massive kingdom like that.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
It might be slightly bit of a tangent, but we know Charles Martinet is going to be in the movie.
Yes.
How is he going to be in the movie?
Well, the
Is he-
rumor
is
the
he-
rumor said he's going to be a narrator. I don't know if the rumors are true though. So
Would work.
it could
I
work.
wonder, is he just going to have a cameo, or is he going to be like prevalent throughout? you know?
I think so. If he's the narrator, then I think that might be all he does because narrators talk a
Yeah.
lot. Narrators talk a lot. So
I mean, that's a lot.
that's a lot. Narrators. If you're gonna have a narrator, by the way, not all movies have narrators, but the ones that do, there's a big difference between a good narrator and a bad one. A good narrator can help make the movie. If the narration's bad, you don't need all this cringe and I don't know. We'll see. But it's also possible because guys, Charles Martinet voices so many things. Not just like we always think of it with Mario. He does so many different Nintendo characters, but not just that. He voices full-on characters in other anime series, and he's a very talented voice actor. I kind of think that if they're having him in there, he might be responsible for a lot of smaller side characters that don't have huge prominent roles, but matter in context of what's happening, like a shop owner or, some other guide along the way or some small, maybe as an example, maybe he's voicing, let's say you have, Bowser and he's got his little baby Koopas in there and he's going to be voicing some of that stuff. Like there could be ways that he might be in there that isn't one of the main lead characters you advertise the movie with, but still keeps him vitally important
Yeah.
to it in a way.
And it's interesting because I've seen I made a video about this recently, last Sunday, which got copyright claimed, by the way. I thought I could get away with just doing the piece of footage, but cutting
it up. Yep.
Yeah, it was. I
Nope.
changed the order of them, but I
Nope.
used the footage throughout the entire video.
Just do
basically.
still images with a slow zoom.
That's what I should have done.
Yeah.
But I just didn't feel like doing that, and I thought it would work. And I created 7 different versions. I uploaded
it's
it and
bad.
told me, "Oh, this segment won't work," and I did it.
If you
7
guys
different
wonder why I
times.
have not made a dedicated Mario reaction video, I did a live stream and it's still up. Go watch it because I can't even re-upload that segment of the live stream. I tried cutting it out and re-uploading. It was copyrighted before it even finished processing.
So my reaction is up, but what I had to do, I had to cut out the part that was where I actually watched the trailer. Like those parts are cut from the reaction. So a couple people like watch it after the fact. Hey, where's your reaction? Well, copyright. Sorry. And right now with the video uploaded Sunday, I'm just hoping that it wins. I'm like saying, hey, this is fair use. So
They have just
that I win
ensured that all they've done is ensure that I will never blow up over the Mario movie. I will never go viral for it because I can't do anything. I can't do anything. I can talk about it. I can't show it. And if you have something that directly shows what you're talking about and you can't show it, that just sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like Nintendo, by the way, Nintendo in general was this way on YouTube like 4 years ago. Like certain games, you just couldn't put gameplay up. They would claim it. And you're like, why? But no, they wouldn't strike you, to be fair. But
they wouldn't strike you. You could still do it, but they would make
it so you're not going anywhere. Because what people don't understand is people always look at it as, oh, you just care about money. Let me explain something. Yeah, sure. This is what I do for a job now, so the money matters. But also, when videos are copyright claimed and you leave it alone, it kills the reach of the video. You are not going to reach even your own audience sometimes if you send live a video that's got a copyright claim. It sucks. It's not just about the money. It's that if it has a copyright claim on it, YouTube suppresses it. So
YouTubers don't make a lot of money.
Not really.
Just so you know.
Yeah. Like you guys would be surprised what I live off of. It's pretty minuscule.
Yeah.
Thank you to our sponsors, by the way, for enabling me to actually do this for a living. People ever wonder, why do I have sponsors? Why do I have ads? Hope you enjoy the content.
What's that mobile game that a lot of YouTubers always
Raid Shadow Legends.
Videos? Was it Rage Legends or something?
Raid Shadow Legends. They sponsored me twice now. Of course, this latest sponsorship, I didn't have to do anything. It was just make a 15-second jump scare, and they paid me like $250 for like 20 minutes of my time. It was crazy, dude. Some of the sponsorship money is crazy.
Video? That's cool.
Yeah, I just had to make a 15-second jump scare that they're going to put up on their website that people can go vote on. But I don't have to mention it. I don't have to talk about it. I don't have to link to it. I don't have to say this video is brought to you by... Nope. I'll probably provide you guys links on live streams, too, if you guys want to go vote for my jump scare, but I really don't care. I mean, I guess I should care, because if it performs well, maybe they'll sponsor more stuff, but I'd rather get, like...
I've never played Raid Shadow Legends.
Other companies sponsoring me.
It's even a good game.
It's fine. It's not something that I would say you should play. And again, guys, caveat, they have sponsored me a couple times. It's fine. It's like any other mobile game. It eventually gets to a point where it feels like you have to spend money if you want to be really good. But I mean, it's fine up until then. It's more of a won't be your primary focus when you're playing, but it's nice that like if you're watching, if you're kind of chilling and wasting time in bed and you have like, you know, an old show or like a show on you've seen a bunch of times, like me with House, throw it on in the background, and I'm just kind of casually play a game like that. It's kind of what it's like.
So my cringe reactor reacts whenever like I'm like on my phone and I see those ads for, you see like some random person like, hey man, there's this really good game with incredible gameplay,
the best graphics,
ads. It's just the best thing ever. It's
the
changed
latest
my life.
RPG features.
It's Game Puzzler King 3000 or Raid Shadow Legends or
Right.
Yeah,
Weeaboos of the Septifold or I don't know, like, and I'm just like, okay, this is obviously complete bullshit.
All right.
But you know,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I don't know. So I've never understood. So obviously I get sponsored ads, and what I've never understood when it comes to the game ones is that they'll give you this marketing material. They're like, hey, we want you to mention this. Like, put your own spin, do your own thing, but you have to mention these words. I'm like, but you gave me so much text, it takes up the full minute that you paid for. So where's my spin coming in exactly? And they're like, oh, just make it work. I'm like, well, okay, I'll make it work. I could say your text really fast and then speed it up and get it done in 10 seconds and then say what I actually care about, and no one's going to actually hear your stuff. It's what I've been telling a lot of companies is, give me your marketing material. I'll look at it, and I am going to send you a revision of what I'm going to say, because I'm not going to say exactly what you want me to say, because I think it's a little ridiculous sometimes, and I think it's been ridiculous for so long that people don't take the ads serious, because
they're all the same.
They're all the same ridiculous, over-promising garbage. Mm-hmm. because you're over marketing, you're overselling what's actually there. How about I just talk about the good aspects of your game? I could just do that. No, your game is not the best looking game to ever exist. It is not the world's greatest RPG. It is not, oh my gosh, you have never seen a puzzler like this. Yes, you have. But let's talk about what makes this one fun. Why this one's worth you spending a few minutes of your day on your phone. Or why this indie game, like I did with Bus Simulator 22, like it's not my kind of game, but I get the appeal. And so they let me focus on what I wanted to say. And I just said, here's the features of the games, here's the modes, and here's some things I kind of enjoyed about playing through it and the kind of crowd I think would enjoy this game. And that's all I said. I didn't say their exact marketing words they wanted because it just feels overblown and overpromised. And I'm not calling them, this is just everyone in general, all these companies. Your generic, overpromising marketing needs to back down a little bit when you're hiring content creators who are trying to be real with their people. Hey, I'll take the paid spots, but let's be real. Let's be raw. Let's not commercialize it a little too much, I guess. Unless we're making a joke out of it. I like Jay's 2 cents when he advertises World of Warships, because he takes the marketing material and he just mocks it and makes a huge joke out of it, and it's hilarious. And they pay him to do it anyways.
Nice.
But I mean, he's a lot bigger
Yeah.
YouTuber, so he's got a little bit more leniency with that stuff. Anyways,
my
but I don't take on a lot of
problem with
sponsorships.
and
Like
I
that
don't
anyways.
really do them because I'm not that big.
Well, yeah,
Maybe
I can tell you guys right now.
but
I have 3 ad spots. One this month, one November, one December for Into the AM. You guys know I've been sponsored by Into the AM 4 or 5 times over the last 2 years. Okay, they're a recurring sponsorship I get usually around midsummer and around the holiday season, and they make really great products, and they let me say whatever the hell I want. Because they just send you the products, and they say, hey, you tell us what you think of this product. We want to hear what you have to say, because they have that much confidence in their product. They don't have to give me a bunch of marketing fluff to talk about their stuff. And I like that. That's why you guys have seen, like, my only ever Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship wasn't me spewing marketing fluff. It was me doing a live stream where it was on autoplay in the corner, and every now and then I had to remind you guys, hey, this stream was sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. If you'd like to check it out, go through the link down in the description. And that was it. I didn't have to overpromise what the game was, because I told them I wasn't going to do that. And so that's the way I approach things, and maybe it limits who will sponsor me. I don't know, but I think I'm doing all right for myself right now. I got a lot of companies who want a piece of Prime for some reason. I don't know why. My videos aren't even that popular. I don't get it.
piece of that brine.
No, I'll know
Well, I
I've
mean-
made it when somebody wants to sponsor the podcast. We've only ever had that happen once. One time, and that was a long time ago. And it's going to be really hard now that it's on a separate channel. But, because factually, we would be doing bigger numbers if I was on the main channel. But that's okay.
Why'd you change it, by the way? Or should we not talk about
We
that?
can talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I'm open. Open book with the audience. The reason that so originally was suggested to me by my MCN, and I just ignored them. So I don't care. I'm doing it what I always do. But as we slowly started putting episodes over here, because we had this channel up for almost a year before we were streaming over here. We were just re-uploading episodes and calling it a day and being like, okay, cool, that's where you go for on-demand. So you get it live at the main channel, on-demand at the podcast channel. It works. It makes sense. I could still do that if I wanted to. Heck, we had a live episode on the main channel, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that.
We co-streamed it on both, on everything.
You mean on everything?
Because I accidentally set it up on the wrong channel, so I said, screw it, let's just live stream it everywhere.
We did Facebook, Twitter.
And it ended up being the most viewed episode ever because we were everywhere. It was insane. But what's interesting is I have discovered that live streams of any kind confuse YouTube's AI when you're someone who uploads standard videos. Now, to be clear, now that I have moved most of my streams in general off my main channel, I have started noticing that when I only do like a stream a week on the main channel, that particular stream gets really big numbers. And it made me realize, I think, why There are some places like Linus Tech Tips where they don't do basically hardly any streams on their channel, but they have WAN show live on their YouTube channel every Friday because it does big numbers. Because they don't the algorithm doesn't get confused and starts pushing their WAN show to all of their normal viewers. So there is a thought process I had in the back of my head to move the podcast back over there, which feels really weird to do all the live streams over here, move the podcast back, and then go back to uploading it. I don't know. I probably just, if I did anything, I'd just dual stream it. I guess if I did anything.
So what are you saying is that if you stream more than once per week, it seems to hurt the channel,
Yes.
but if you're only going to stream like once per week, it would work for the channel.
Yes, as long as the stream is like at least 5 hours out from when the video is published.
Interesting. Because I was like, oh, does that mean I should stop my podcast?
No.
Yeah.
And it's going to be different for everyone. And there's a lot of analytics that I examined before I made the decision. And at the time I made the decision, I was still live streaming.
I was gonna say you weren't doing just the podcast live streaming. You were doing live streaming pretty much
Yeah. So
almost every
Yeah,
night
you were
too. So
streaming almost every day. Like
I
you were
still
doing
do.
a video
Yeah, no, I know.
video stream, like was like at least 2 publishings per day.
Yeah. And now that I don't really do that so much, it's almost advantageous I take at least something back to the main channel. And I kept thinking, well, the podcast is the thing I put the most time into. So, but then we have the dedicated podcast channel. But then there's still a point to that because I could re-upload and not have to worry about using
Or,
YouTube to edit
again,
out
just
edit out the beginning.
dual stream.
So there's a whole, and I could just dual stream as well. But for right now, things are staying the way they are. But it's like it's always interesting knowing that like I'm doing this, and I keep wondering, man, what if I did this at the main channel now that I barely stream over there? Would we be at like 150, 200 plus viewers, which would be insane for a podcast because I don't stream that often over there. So it's plus obviously when you have guests on, they like being on the main channel usually more so than the tiny one because they get they get in front of more people too. So I know
I'm just here because I love you.
I love you, man. So yeah, I don't know. There's some playing around I might do with it. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe next week I'll try an episode over there and go back to upload. Now I know the upload one over here won't do as well, but just kind of playing around with things, you know. Bottom line is, guys,
we're also trying to grow the subscribers over here too. I mean, that's the other
it's
thing.
growing, sort of. It's been kind of stagnant now for like a month, but that's all right.
I mean, I didn't. So I knew that you did it, but I forgot. And then I was like, "Where is this show?" And then that's when I was like, "That's why today."
Yeah,
I, was like, oh,
I mean,
snap.
like none of my podcasts are really public on the other channel anymore because once we uploaded them, I'd always take them down. But I mean, I was getting 2,500 views per podcast episode on the old channel, and on this channel, like we just peaked. We just actually had our best episode at 1,500 plus, which is crazy because we ended at 400 last week. After the stream,
Wow.
and then it gained
That's
almost
significant.
that's a significant
I mean-
like post I was only an hour and a half podcast, but still significant. Like
I
extra
feel
reach.
like this one, if I just base it off the concurrent viewership, it feels kind of like where mine are right now.
Sure.
So I think it's probably gonna at least hit 1,000.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's been pretty consistent near 1,000 now for over a month. Once it settles down and we get to the next episode, but we'll see what happens. I mean, the bottom line is like it's weird to be like because it's slowly growing here, and to be like, oh, I'll just rip it back to the other channel just because I know it'll do more numbers. But then, like,
I mean,
if it keeps growing here organically for 5 years, it could end up doing bigger numbers here than it would ever do at the other channel. So, you know, it's kind of a give or take. One thing I thought about doing too, and I've thought about this for a long time, is doing clips and doing a lot more of those here. So I might have the big episode get uploaded, but then I have clips that I could do. But it's just I never have time to really put the clips together, so it doesn't
Yeah, I
matter.
tried that clip thing once.
I used to do it with the
time and
podcast way back in the day. The whole channel was just clips.
You know, I would love to do YouTube full time because there's so much things that I wish I could do. There's so much, man, but time I don't have.
Time. Yeah, this
Yeah.
week my time is it's like non-existent. I almost
Like, I want
when Mike told
happen,
told me it was his birthday today, I'm like, do I just cancel the podcast? I really need the time for other things because the podcast isn't like a revenue driver I don't.
Are you doing
I
YouTube
invest a lot in my
full-time
podcast, guys, but it's not. The podcast don't really make much money. But it's not about money. That's not what the show's about. So.
Are you doing YouTube full time now?
Yes.
That's awesome. When did you make the transition?
2 months ago.
When you created the podcast channel. Okay.
No, the podcast channel's been around for a year.
Well, when you started putting the podcast exclusively on the podcast channel is what I meant.
When Prime 5 started.
Okay.
And now that Prime 5's kind of settled in, I sort of know what every episode's going to do. Now I have to focus on, all right, so what do we do next? How do we go to the next level? How do we get to that next stage of growth? That I haven't figured out yet. So still working on that. What I did notice is my live stream over the Mario movie gained me more subscribers than anything I've ever done this entire year. Which is cool. We are also one of the few live streams that didn't get taken out, so there was a little bit of an advantage
helps.
there. People were like, "Oh,
meme?
you have Nintendo in your name, so you must have all the rights." Like, I ain't got rights to shit.
Nope.
You know the meme? It's like, whoa, this is doing numbers.
Doing numbers. Yeah. Oh my god.
Gets 3 likes. Yes.
Yes. Oh, dude, it's funny.
I'm famous now.
My daughter has a YouTube channel, and she uploaded a short or whatever, and she was so excited when it got like 100 views. And I sat there, I'm like,
that's crazy.
I might be excited. I don't want to knock down your excitement. Yeah, but Dad, you do. I've been doing this for 5 years. You came on the scene and instantly got 100. Good for you. I don't know what the hell. I don't know if you're ever going to go anywhere.
Shorts go viral.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. It's like TikTok. Like you can get all sorts of views on them.
Yeah. I totally don't understand. Like, people always ask me for advice on YouTube, and I just go, dude, I don't know what I'm doing myself.
Yeah.
So I have a consistent schedule with my Prime 5. I got a consistent schedule with the podcast, and that's about it. I have other live streams, but they're not really consistent, and I don't really have consistency with anything else. I just have those 2 things that I make sure I hit every time, and that's what I'm consistent with. But even being consistent doesn't guarantee success on YouTube anymore. That was an old way of doing YouTube, was consistently daily videos. That's how you get big.
What if you were just consistently inconsistent? Like,
I mean, that's what I've been for 5 years. Let's just be honest.
You gotta just keep people guessing. Like you never know what's gonna happen.
People do like
you can't stop making content, because if you stop making content, then you become consistently nothing, right? Like that you become you have to always be random.
Yeah, I think one thing I plan to do.
That's a joke, by the way. Don't do that.
Yeah, I know. One thing I plan to do is I'm gonna keep Prime 5 going. I've got a pretty consistent schedule. Like, basically, when I get off this stream, I'll be getting that next episode ready for tomorrow. I don't even have the news gathered yet, but I'm pretty sure I know what the news is going to be based on stuff I saw today. But besides that, and the consistency I have with that, I believe I might be getting back to 2 videos a day. But that's because the one's going to be at 8 a.m. and one's going to be at 3 p.m. Those are the 2 big time frames in my fan base to hit with videos. And the 3 p.m. one is going to be more of my, do we call it old school kind of video? More of a discussion on one major topic. And I just kind of give my thoughts on it. Whatever the major topic is, whatever that trending topic of the day is. Is it the Mario movie? Cool. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. I can't show it, but let's talk about it. Is it I don't know. Let's say, what was it the other day? It was gosh, I don't even remember now. The news just runs together in my head. But whatever the trendy thing is of the day, and I can't say I'll even do it every day, but it's kind of might get back to that because I know how to do those kind of videos. But what I was thinking to myself, like, what's going to be the next new thing? Is it going to be game reviews? But then if I do game reviews, that's adding a lot. Game reviews are not just a thing that you just wake up one day and decide to do.
You gotta play the game.
You gotta play the game for like dozens, hundreds of hours, and then you have all the footage you have to get through to even make the review. Then you gotta stand out from other reviews. And you got to give people a reason to watch your review over anyone else's, and all the
Timing
editing
matters.
and the scripting and the note taking, and it's
That's a lot.
a lot of time for a single video
That may or may not do well.
that may or may not do well. And like, say you put like 100 hours of gameplay in, and then another 20 hours of sifting through everything and putting the review together. 120 hours later, and you put out a video that gets 2,000 views and you make $5. You say, well, don't do it for that. Well, I mean, I do it full time, so I have to consider the best use of my time to support my family while also doing things I want to do. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So I don't know. I don't know what my next thing's going to be. But right now I'm loving the news, and I want to find a way to make Prime 5 even more entertaining. That is one thing I know I want to do. I want to find a way to hook people in the first 15 seconds and hook them with something that's really entertaining, and then keep that hook going. And I don't really know what it's going to be. I've been trying to find a way to make news storying, like news telling, a narrative. That's an overarching general story that doesn't conclude until we get to the end of the final piece of news. I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. But I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking. We'll see.
I think if I went full time someday, I wouldn't even necessarily make more content. I would just make
Better content.
better content.
Yep.
Like they're probably like maybe I would try and upload like almost every day. Like at this point, if I'm on point, I have
Sure.
If you count the podcast, it's 4 uploads a week, but sometimes it's 3. Like maybe it turns
Absolutely.
to 5, but each one will be like really well done.
Yep. Like I make, okay, so now that I'm full time, I make less videos. I just factually make less videos. I was making almost 45 videos a month when I wasn't full time. However, why was I making 45 videos a month? Everything was set up to have no editing, very little done. It's just turn the camera on, say what I have to say, go back through it quick in the editor for like 10, 15 minutes. Make sure I didn't repeat myself too much. Make sure I didn't do anything stupid. Intro, outro, upload, done. Super quick to make. Really easy to make content. And a lot of you guys love that content. But also, only getting watch time of 20% of the videos getting watched, the rest getting ignored. Which isn't good. So I decided with Prime 5 that my goal was to do a little bit shorter videos, better edited, more concise, and try to keep the audience there for a higher percentage of the video. So even if the watch time is lower in terms of the minutes, the watch time percentage will be higher. And now I average between 50 to 60% watch time on my Prime 5 videos, which means I succeeded in taking what was like 20%, rose at 30 to 40% per video on how much of the video they're actually consuming. The question is now, how do I get it from that to 70 to 80? And that's going to be trying to find a way to do what I'm doing and make it more entertaining throughout. Even if it's a story, even if it's a story they're not interested in, because you're going to get that, right? 5 news stories in a video, everyone's not interested in all 5 stories. Mm-hmm. So you got to add that entertainment value.
The longer a video, the shorter the worse the audience retention is going to be.
Yes. Yes.
But
also, some people also love those videos. It's
personally
crazy.
have never seen 70 or 80 for a long video.
Yeah.
No. I don't even know if that's realistic.
No.
But maybe I just don't make good videos.
I mean, I obviously don't know what your analytics says. I just know that I've achieved my goal so far, and I've kind of stabilized my viewership. So it might take a title or thumbnail redo a couple times, but I can get 3,000 views on a video minimum if I want. And getting 4, 5, 6 is pretty easy to do now. Like, it's not like a surprising thing when it happens. It's getting back to where I was last year before I got hacked that I'm struggling with, because I was getting almost 10,000 views a video last year. And I wasn't even full time. It's crazy. So getting back to that is what I'm struggling with right now. But the bottom line is the channel's back on positive growth after it was negatively growing every single month since we got hacked. All we did was just bleed subscribers. And ever since I did Prime 5, it turned around. So I just got to find a way to take it to the next level. I also got to keep it professional. Don't do anything stupid.
So no flashing
drinking?
random wieners in there.
No
No.
more drinking.
No, still drink. The big thing though is that I am being on the main channel. I want to be a bit more selective. Like yesterday, I accidentally sent the stream live on the wrong channel, so I was on the main channel. And that's whatever. Once it's live, it's live. What are you gonna do about it? So I just stayed live there, and I did have a shot and a couple drinks of beer, but I was very careful. As an example, I really stop swearing because I'm like, oh, I'm on the main channel. Better not swear so much. Better not say so much crazy things. Better not, make people feel awkward or uncomfortable. Even though I'm just being me. But it's a different me than you see in my videos. So I want to kind of keep it consistent. Like the kind of me, the high energy, talking news, loving Nintendo guy you see. I want you to, if I'm on the main channel, I want you to still see that. So I'm kind of changing things up a little bit. Whereas if I'm over here on this channel streaming, I don't care as much. You get the raw, unfiltered Nate, and it is what it is. But over on the other channel, I try to, and the podcast kind of fits into that. Like we have some swear words here and there, but it's not egregious. It's not like we're sitting here dropping F-bombs every other sentence.
So you're offending me constantly.
Yeah, I just offend you nonstop.
It's just that face in general, just really
sorry.
offensive.
I can't
Right.
do
I mean,
anything.
whenever I look at it, it feels like your face is a curse word.
There it is. Should I just get it tattooed?
That sounds so
right.
mean.
Should I
I'm
just
kidding.
tattoo it on this giant forehead?
Right?
Just tattoo a giant FU. Just right there. Just right there. Then people can't say, "Oh, it's not part of who you are." Actually, it's literally part of my body now.
Get an FU tramp stamp.
FU tramp stamp on the head. On the head. Going down to the crevice of the nose. Oh my gosh. Anyways. Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of things, guys, that I'm playing around with, as you can tell. Things I'm thinking about in terms of...
Careful there.
Not the tramp stamp. But things I'm thinking about in terms of with the channel. One thing I can tell you guys, Prime 5 should be up around 8 a.m. every single morning, Monday through Friday. And podcast every Wednesday. Those are two things that I'm going to stick with consistently. Everything else I'm playing around with and experimenting. Where to do live streams at, how often to live stream on one channel versus the other channel. Yeah, so it's all kind of a giant mess. So I apologize for people who like to follow and watch every single thing I do, and you never know where I'm going to be. I get it,
And it doesn't help that YouTube doesn't always send out notifications, or you make it a day late.
So another thing having a second channel helps with is more notifications.
Yeah, right.
More notifications. By the way, fun tip: if you guys are having problems with getting notifications from my channel, check how many channels you're subscribed to. If you're subscribed to over 20 channels, YouTube starts to suppress your notifications. Found that out too. So,
Hooray! YouTube.
I had a meeting with YouTube the other day, and I found out quite a bit. And that was one of the things is we don't suppress, but the AI might. I'm like, but the AI is YouTube then, so
right?
then you suppress.
The AI is you.
So it's like we're not saying we suppress, but hint, the bot suppresses. Oh, okay, thanks. Cursing and maturity limits audience to adults. I could argue maturity or being family friendly, let's say extremely overly family friendly, also limits your audience to children. Now, there are more young people on these platforms than old people. Like, it's a fact. It's just a fact. Finding a way to appeal to all of them is nearly impossible. And I think I realized this a long time ago that I'm not going to try to appeal to everybody. I can't. Not everyone's going to like me. But I try to still be me. So, like, even though I cut back on swearing, it doesn't mean that a swear word won't slip in. Even though when I'm on the main channel, I'll still do my drinks and shots, but I'm not going to necessarily make as big of a deal out of them, if that makes sense. We'll just do it and kind of move on.
I mean, my audience is 15 to 45. 90% male, 10%
Oh,
female.
what's the podcast audience?
No.
I'm actually curious. Or the podcast channel audience. I never actually... So the one analytics I never look at is the podcast channel.
No way to go.
What's the audience analytics here? Analytics, audience. How old are you guys? Tell me your age.
I feel
What's
like
it
that's an
say?
inappropriate question, Nate.
To ask how old someone is? Since when? I have to fill it out on every single document that I ever fill out.
We're not in a job interview.
In fact, when I sign up for accounts on websites, they ask how old I am too.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you how old I am. I'm 30.
I'm totally not going to tell you I'm 30.
So watch time here is 95% people who are subscribed.
Well, all right.
So there you
That's-
go. We do have we have a bigger female audience here than we do at our normal channel.
Nice.
What is it?
23%.
Wow.
Wow.
It's
Heck
only, it's
yeah.
only 3% on my main channel. That's a huge difference. And
That
my
is huge.
primary age group is exactly the same. It's 18 to 44. Nobody under 18 watches my stuff. Literally, it's 0.2% are under the age of 18.
Thing is,
And my largest
on
audience-
YouTube, you have to specify what your content is for.
And my
just say
largest
you're-
audience
yeah,
is
I just
say my
25 to
kid-
34.
I just say my content is not for kids. It's not technically.
I mean, you have to market on every video if you want ads. That's not for kids.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that's how YouTube treats it, but yeah, you're not supposed to make
Yeah.
content for kids anymore.
Well, but also because of that, another thing that I do, I mean, I always use Nintendo trailers, right? Like most Nintendo YouTubers do.
Yep.
But if you're using some of their more commercial ones where they involve actors, I almost always make sure to cut out the segments that have kids in them, because we live in a really world.
So we bring up
like,
the age.
I've heard horror stories of where there's technically children inside. I mean, that's actually one of the things. Like they ask you, are there children in your video? I cut those out for that reason.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. We mentioned the age thing. The people who are willing to share their age, like, oh, I'm 36, I'm 36, I'm 38, I'm 40. I'm like, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Based on my audience metrics, that's about right. But then we'll get like some 15-year-old that will call into one of the shows, and every time someone I get like a really young person. And by the way, guys, I'm not trying to act like 15's a little kid, but my daughter's about to turn 12. It's somebody who's 3 years older than my own kid. So to me, I'm sorry you're a kid. I don't mean to be mean. I'm a parent who basically has a kid in your age range. So to me, you're a child. And when one of them call in, this isn't speaking to your maturity level. This is just speaking to how I treat it. You might notice my tone and mood and everything changes when I realize this is someone very young talking to me. Because I need to be cognizant that now there is someone, because you guys know I take call-ins, someone has just called through Discord a 36-year-old adult, and I guarantee their parents do not know about it. And this can get very wrong very quickly.
Yeah.
And I know it. So I'm very quick on I will hang up if this is not going well. But in general, since we just talked about video games, we just stick to the games and everything feels fine. But I can't screen people's ages before they call me, and that kind of sucks. I kind of wish there was a way that I could screen ages, but people will just lie. So
Right.
I don't really.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times did you
So,
have
but you
lied
guys might
in
notice, like when I hear someone that I don't know how old they are, but man, they sound really young. I'm just going to sit back and let
But
them do most of the talking, and
here's the thing,
I
though, too.
will end the conversation if this person's taking it in a direction that it shouldn't be going in.
Here's the thing, though, too. Just because they sound young doesn't necessarily mean that they are.
Well, the last two people that sounded really young on my thing came into the chat, and one said they were 13 and one said 14. I don't know
Well,
if they're being honest,
Right,
but it's kind of
I mean,
like a.
there are a few people that I know that do not sound their age.
I'll tell you that I'm usually surprised by people's ages when I find out what their age is, when I just know them as their internet avatar. Like you don't really know
Sure.
who they are.
Sure.
Ruby, get off the keyboard, please.
I'm too ghetto. Good question, because Nate always tells us he had something he can't talk about. Like, so why tell us? Because I really want to talk about it and I can't. But the bottom line is, when I have something I can't talk about, it means I can talk about it eventually. So if you pay enough attention to my content, every time I say there's something going on and I can't talk about it, if you keep watching all my videos, you'll eventually find the thing that I was referencing that I couldn't talk about.
Oh, can I ask you a question before we go? It's getting late for me, by the way. I have to.
No, that's totally
leave
fine.
soon.
I got content to make.
Question. This could be a long one, so let's I'm just not. But I just want someone else's opinion on this because I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about this particular topic but myself. Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough. Do you think Metroid Prime HD is still real? And if so, when is it coming? Like, I wanted to believe Jeff Grubb that it was coming this holiday, but at this point, that just seems like wishful thinking is a very nice way to put it. Let's just say that.
We're like halfway through October. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, like I mean, it's
we're gonna
delusional,
see
really.
a bald Jeff Grubb debuting in 2023. That's just what's happening.
Yeah,
it's happening.
I mean, do you think it's still coming? And if so, when? And how does that impact at least for Prime 4?
So I think it exists. Not because of Jeff Grubb. Not because I know either, guys. I'm kind of sticking my feather in the Emily Rogers hat, who never said when it was coming.
Right.
And she was the originator of the rumor in the first place. And she basically even talked recently about how there was a build that someone was working on, played, and anyways, I'm not going to get into all of that. The point is that I kind of believe her, and she's now done leaking things. This is like her last big rumor that she has out there. At least according to what she said, she'll stop leaking things, so we'll see. But I think it exists, and I think there's a couple things happening. Obviously, it would have made sense to launch it around the 20th anniversary, but as I said the whole time, Nintendo had tons of content. They didn't need anything else necessarily this year. And as it turns out, we're not really getting anything else this year other than what we already knew about.
The Kirby thing.
I mean, sure, I guess the Kirby surprise thing, but it was just
That was it.
Yeah, like it's fine. They had enough games for the holiday season. I wasn't too worried about that.
Yeah, but getting Fire Emblem Engage in January though, that was.
Well, I knew they'd always have something. They have something every January. Hey, this time it's a new Fire Emblem.
But I didn't expect it to be that big.
So it's
a very quick turnaround.
Is it?
I mean, it's not like out of the question for Nintendo to do. I'm just saying, like, like more likely we get like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Like, think about what we normally get in January. Like, how often is it like a brand new, completely original first party Nintendo game?
Gosh, I went through this list on another podcast about all the big games they've dropped in January during the Switch era. The Switch era in particular, they've been doing it. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Obviously, 2017 didn't have anything. 2018,
February's got stuff, but January, Legends Arceus, okay.
Yeah,
sure.
Obviously, yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, Legends Arceus was huge. Yeah, there's no denying
huge.
That. Maybe a Fire Emblem now. What about? What was? Gosh, I literally just went over this in a podcast.
2019 was NSMBU Deluxe.
Yep.
2017 obviously that wasn't a thing, so that just leaves 2018 and 2020. Well, then 2021
and 2021. In 2020. No, that wasn't January. Don't see. This is one thing I hate about when you Google things and then it shows you a game and it's like, yeah, I know that game came out in 2020. It wasn't January.
Like if you Google Splatoon 3's release date, it says initial release date August, but they changed it to September, so it's not technically wrong, but it's very misleading.
Okay, so the exclusive they did was a Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Okay, so but you see my point though. With
that was 2020. Like hold on, 2021. I don't know why I can't remember 2021.
Because it didn't exist.
What? It didn't exist. Nothing happened. Oh no, they've had like an exclusive or a port of one of their former exclusives every January.
Was there a Bayonetta that came out around then?
I'm trying to see here. Upcoming Nintendo here. This post at Nintendo Life from December of 2020 it should have it because it would have been announced already. It was 2021 was not what? Oh, this is for 2022. Sorry. Yeah, I was like Pokemon Legends Arceus. Yeah, we already know about that one. New Nintendo Switch games. Here we go. This post was from December 30th of 2020. Let's see. Did they have one in 2021? No.
I think it was Bayonetta 2 in 2018.
You think it was Bayonetta 2 in 2018?
I think.
Yeah, I think the biggest game I'm seeing on this list is maybe the Saga 6, but that's not Nintendo. It doesn't look like they maybe had anything in 2020, which isn't too surprising. It was in the middle of the damn pandemic. Anyways, the one thing that made me
Bayonetta
realize
2 released February, by the way, on Switch.
what
So,
did
Bayonetta 2 released February.
oh, was it February? Okay,
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
I can't
the point
remember.
I'm simply
yet.
making is just the bigger game. Like we usually don't see original published Nintendo games come out
Sure.
in January. The exceptions being Legends Arceus, but that's also like a Pokemon weird thing. And
Plus,
then now Fire Emblem.
Trying to put a big enough gap. between
It's
that.
I'm not trying to make like some sort of grandiose statement. I'm just
Yeah,
simply
yeah.
saying, hey, that was like a quick turnaround.
Sure.
Like even though we didn't get any like big
Sure.
announcements for this holiday beyond what was already known, Fire Emblem is in January. Just
It's
a
huge.
few weeks later.
I mean, when I say huge, guys, I mean relatively. Fire Emblem's it has gotten bigger over the years, so it's becoming a consistent core franchise for Nintendo. It's been a core franchise for a while, but I mean, like they've been consistently bringing out games at a regular pace now for ever since Awakening on 3DS. So,
But I want to go back to my question. So you believe it's real? I agree, right? But when does it come out? Because
I got
if it's
two
coming,
thoughts.
I gotta think it comes out next year. But I feel like it comes out a year before Prime 4. So I feel like the reason maybe it didn't come out this year or is not going to come out this year is because Prime 4 it may not be ready for next holiday.
I don't think Prime 4 is coming next year. I'll start
Huh?
there. I don't think we're getting Metroid Prime 4 next year.
I think we get it shown off maybe a little.
I don't
like a
even think
teaser.
that. I don't think Metroid Prime 4 is ever coming out for Nintendo Switch. That's my hot take. I hate saying that, but my hot take is it's a next gen game at this point.
So what do they do? They come out with Metroid Prime HD for free as a hey, sorry.
No, I think so. I think there was a
They
path.
announced it for Switch.
So I think there was a
that's-
path. Yes, I think there was a path. Like with Metroid Prime HD, I felt like there was a path where they could have did because I think they want to do this HD thing to the entire trilogy, and I think at this point, if Metroid Prime 4 is not going to be on the current Switch and is going to be a next gen exclusive, which is what I am starting to think is happening, that pushes it to 2025, 2026, which is a long time away. And I think that gives them time to do 2 and 3 and package them all together. But I don't know.
maybe, but
I
no.
don't know. That's the only thing I have right now. Or they release 1 next year, 2 the next year, 3 the next year, and then bam, we finally get 4. But I look, this is all speculative because the bottom line is you can shake your head no all you want. Retro Studios supposedly did Metroid Prime 1. Retro Studios hasn't launched a game since Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Retro Studios took over Metroid Prime 4 after 3 years or 2 years of development or whatever it was. I just Metroid look, until Retro Studios can prove otherwise, they seem to have a hard time getting games to the finish line.
I don't think Nintendo would have given them Prime 4 if they didn't have faith in them, though.
I think they gave them Prime 4 because, well, one, they obviously pitched for it, supposedly. Again, this is all like this is just rumors that they pitched for it. But I think they gave it to it because when they announced Prime 4, they didn't trust Retro Studios, hence why they gave it to a different studio. And then that studio was bastardizing it. So they said, nope, let's give it back to Retro. Doesn't mean Retro got any doesn't mean Retro got any better.
Build a Prime 1, and they were like, okay, make this into a thing.
Sure.
And that also happened around the time that they switched over to Prime 4.
Sure. And again, this is all speculation. This is all rumors. This is all things that come through the
we don't know.
grapevine. None of this is technically known facts. These are known assumptions. So my only fact is they haven't released a new game in like 8 years. Let's just be real. Almost going on a decade. I have nothing that I've seen from them suggest that they're any closer to releasing a game now than they were 2 years ago, than they were 3 years ago. Them updating their Twitter profile to a Metroid theme and consistently advertising they're still hiring for Metroid Prime 4. I'm sorry, that just isn't a thing that happens when games are almost done. It just doesn't. It just doesn't happen. They don't advertise. Do you see ads right now, guys, that they're hiring for Tears of the Kingdom and it comes next year? Do you see any ads from Nintendo of Japan or Monolith Soft that they're hiring for Tears of the Kingdom right now? No, because the game's almost done. They don't need to hire anyone else right now.
I mean, hiring also happens all throughout development.
It does. But I went through the history of Nintendo's biggest games, and they're never hiring when a game's almost done. It's always hiring before the final year. The final year wrap up, the game's mostly done at that point. It's all polish, and any hires at that point are for the next project.
Well,
But this
I think it's also worth noting.
We don't know.
Right? We also have
We have
Tears
no
of the
idea.
Kingdom, which is coming out this May.
Sure.
But if it weren't for that release date, we'd think this game is really far off because Nintendo's been very sparse with its information. And by the time it releases, it will have been a longer than 6-year gap between it and Breath of the Wild, which would make it the largest gap between major Zeldas, I think, or one of them.
There's a big difference though. They gave us a 2022 release date for it already, so we knew bare minimum a year delay was probably about max.
True, but all I'm trying to say is that there's a situation where we're waiting over 6 years for the game.
Sure.
Right? And they already had a foundation in place. This is a direct sequel.
Sure.
And as opposed to Retro Studios, which again hasn't made a game, but they're working on Metroid Prime, which is supposed to be a big deal, and they're kind of starting from scratch basically.
Yep.
So
almost the entire Metroid Prime 3 team is gone. They don't have anyone left.
Yeah, and I mean they kind of have to rethink how do you make. They do. They have to rethink how do you make a modern day Metroid Prime, and that's probably one of the reasons why Nintendo went with them.
I also
right now
say
they're working on redoing the original Metroid Prime, which is also probably helping them to think about how they can handle Prime 4.
Question for you. Do you think Tears of the Kingdom would have been a 2023 game if there was no pandemic?
No. I mean, first off, they gave us a release date for 2022, and obviously the pandemic caused delays.
Well, and they gave that during the pandemic too.
Also, it could have been a 2021 game.
You know what? I can buy that. I think no pandemic. Yeah, because it was all of 2020, and that really messed things up. Like my thing is, my thing is like we're like, oh, the longest development time for a Zelda game ever. I'm like, yeah, but no other Zelda game had a pandemic affecting how long it took. So like if we go under normal circumstances, it probably would have been 5 years, like normal. Which is
I still think
typical.
5 years is a ridiculous amount of time considering it's a direct sequel.
Well, they haven't done a ton of direct sequels in the Zelda franchise. Majora's Mask, which was obviously everyone knows that was a quick turnaround. That was a quick turnaround. It's also that's also a really tiny game. Like in comparison, it's a really good game, and they did a lot. But it's only 4 dungeons. Yeah. It's heavily built around a single town, et cetera, et cetera. They did incredible with it. Majora's Mask is one of my favorite Zelda games, but it just didn't need the same sort of development time as an Ocarina of Time, as a Twilight Princess, as a Wind Waker. So that's
another crazy thing. I felt like we waited a long time for Twilight Princess, but Wind Waker came out.
No, so Twilight Princess was interesting because it was originally Wind Waker 2.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, you can't. Then Nintendo America's like, yeah, I don't think you should do that. People don't like it here.
Wind Waker released early 2003. I mean, I think that at that time they were released in different regions.
Yeah, they announced Twilight Princess the following year.
In Japan.
They released Wind Waker in November of 2003, and literally 6.5 months later, they announced Twilight Princess.
Well, its initial release date was December 2002.
Oh, well, I mean, if you're gonna.
So I think it released March 2003 in North America.
Yeah. And then 2004, they announced Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess came out in 2006.
Yeah, but they announced in 2004. Planned for 2005. Came out in 2006 on Wii. Yeah.
But yeah, it took them another. Well, if you account the initial release, which was holiday 2002, it took them 4 years.
It was also before HD development, which takes a little more time too.
Sure.
But also, the Zelda team is way bigger today than it ever was then.
Yeah.
I don't. It's interesting times.
The thing is, Wind Waker to Twilight Princess, two completely different art styles. Completely new assets. It's very different. They were two very different games.
Yes, they were. Yep. They use the same engine though. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, engine doesn't dictate art style, right?
No, it really doesn't. People, a lot of people are like, oh, the Breath of the Wild engine, that art's no, the engine isn't the art. They can do different art direction with the same engine.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because like even Wind Waker and Twilight Princess played differently. Like Wind Waker was so floaty with the combat, and same engine. Kudos to them, man. Because Nintendo custom builds engines for Zelda. That's why I said it's a big deal, because Nintendo custom builds their Zelda engines. They don't use other people's engines. So
yeah. What I was gonna say for Prime 4 though, when you look at some of these games and it makes Nintendo does this thing where they're just really quiet for a long time and they make you think it doesn't exist, and all of a sudden, oh, it exists, and here's all the information about it. Like Tears of the Kingdom is probably done, right? Like with that reason why we saw that Link statue, like they have like promotional material just like ready.
I think it's done. I think it's been done for, maybe it hasn't gone gold where they're like, they probably have some programmers still doing some things, but it's in like the final, it's like the final polishing, bug searching, let's figure out all the merch and amiibo and collector's editions we're going to be releasing around this damn thing.
Yeah. But the point I'm making with that, right, is that you have things like this or Fire Emblem Engage, right? Like they show it off and they show it off in September, it comes out in January, or Xenoblade 3, like it's rumored for so long, but they reveal it in February and it comes out in July.
Yep.
Like they have some huge games that they give us no information on. So sometimes when we see no information, our interpretation is, oh, well, it's very far off, but that there's not really that much of a correlation there, is my point. So we look at the situation in Prime 4, just because we don't have information on it doesn't mean it's not near completion. That all said, I'm not expecting it next year anymore because I think Prime HD is going to come before it. So I think that's probably coming out.
My expectations have nothing to do with Nintendo's typical BS. It has to do with it's been 8 years and Retro hasn't put a game out.
Yeah, but they're gonna. I mean, yeah.
And they were working on something else before they took over the game in 2019, or 2018. What year was it that they announced?
Was it Nate the Hate that said that they had a project they had just kind of canned? And
yeah. Somebody said they had multiple projects they canned, but one of them was actually close to completion, and Nintendo's like, nope, can that.
It probably wasn't good. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, when was Metroid Prime delayed, or Metroid Prime 4 delayed? What year was that?
2019.
2019. Yes.
Yep.
January of 2019. So let's presume that they probably took over in the latter half of 2018. I don't know. Nintendo could have, I guess, announced it right, the same month it was happening. I have no idea, but even then, you think about it. Well, then they've had at this point 4 years. If it was the latter half of 2018, they've had 4 years to put the game together. Well, I mean, I could see how it's going to take another year or two. It's AAA game development in HD. From a studio that the last things they were doing were side-scrolling Donkey Kong games. And they don't have any of the team that made Metroid Prime anymore. So, I could see where it's going to take them quite a bit to get back to where they were. And half of those years were a pandemic.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, if they rebooted in the latter half of 2018, and it's only been 4 years now, and 2 of those years were a pandemic, this is just my logic. It's been 8 years since they put out a game. They started development 4 years ago at best. 2 of those years were a pandemic. I don't think this game's coming out for 2-3 years still. I think they're at the midway point at this point. And they just got 2 more years of development to go. Now, at that point, that's why I said I think it'll be next-gen exclusive, because I don't think there's any point in dropping a Metroid Prime 4 right before a new platform comes out.
Well, we're not necessarily far off. You're talking about 2 years from now. Well, I'm talking about it not making it out next year. I'm thinking 2024, 2025. I think it depends on the timing of when. I think it depends on when they're bringing a new platform. Like if they're going to bring a new platform end of 2024, I guess it could be. I don't think it makes for a smart launch game. I think it should be a game that comes out 3 months after launch, and you have something bigger at launch. Market Prime 4 is Space Breath of the Wild, maybe.
Well, I kind of think my opinion, they should launch hey, we don't have an Odyssey 2 yet. All right, cool. Let's do a 3D Mario to launch to the next platform. We're not getting 3D Zelda to launch to the next platform, so let's get 3D Mario.
This is what I'm going to tell you. I think 3D Mario is coming out before Metroid Prime 4.
Well, sure. I think 3D Mario is launching the next platform, and Metroid Prime 4 comes out 3 months after.
I think 3D Mario is launching next year.
Do you? Sweet.
Think,
Hey,
I
I mean,
don't
yeah. Here's the thing. One thing we do know: we are getting a new Mario. I'd like to say I know for certain we're getting Metroid Prime 4, but I don't really know for certain we're getting Metroid Prime 4. I just know that it's been announced and it's in development, and they haven't canceled it yet. But
They will
Mario,
not
we're getting new
cancel it.
Mario. We're not dumb. A new Mario game is coming. Why it's taken us this long? Maybe the pandemic. Maybe because they looked at the timing of Zelda, and I do think that they look at it at this point that they need a 3D Mario or a 3D Zelda to launch the next platform. And I kind of think they've looked at the history of their platforms, and all the ones that have done well have had one of those two IPs kicking the platform off. But
Here's something exciting. Mario Kart has a DLC coming out, so we're not getting a new Mario Kart anytime soon.
Mario Kart at launch?
We're not getting a new Smash anytime soon. So
No.
2 and 3 just launched.
I think
Animal
Ultimate.
Crossing is a game per generation.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The next platform for Nintendo, do you think they're just going to port Ultimate?
Probably.
Yeah. I kind of feeling that they're just
Smash.
going to package all the DLC together for $60 and just maybe they
I
4K
think
it or do
they'll
whatever
have
they're
some new
doing. but-
content.
Yeah, I mean, they could do another DLC pack. I mean,
Yeah, I made a video a while ago after they conclude the DLC for Volume 2, and I said, what if there's a Volume 3? A lot of people called me an idiot,
well, there wouldn't be one
but
this
I
gen.
stand by it.
I don't think there'd be one
What?
this. There wouldn't be one this generation,
No,
but it'd be next.
but I think there will be. I
It's
think there'll be more content.
Mario
added to
Kart
that.
8 Deluxe
It's
DLC.
easier.
You look at it as it's a bridge. Hey, we're going to run this for a whole nother generation. We think it's the greatest thing we've ever done. We're going to hype you up with, 1 or 2 more packs of more characters. And we're just going to run with that for another generation, buying us time until we figure out what the hell we're doing with Smash down the road. Because
I think it makes sense because Smash Ultimate, it doesn't need to be updated,
Yeah.
sure, but we don't need
Sure.
a new one for a long.
You could do
time, so just extend it.
we have DLSS, so this is Smash in 4K now, so that's like the big selling point or something.
I mean, that's a big deal.
Or we have better net
maybe,
code.
Maybe you update it where
Yeah.
every stage can be 8-player Smash.
Yeah, there'll be some tweaks.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
they
it's
put
running on a better net code.
maybe they add a little side break the targets come back or something like a side mode. Just like something that's like, hey, it's a little bit of new, kind of like Bowser's Fury, but it's not really full game development kind of thing. We didn't replace the game. We
Yeah.
just added some stuff to it, and here you go.
Yeah. But anyway, going back to the point, when you think about how we're not getting a new Smash, we're not getting a new Mario Kart, Splatoon is done, Xenoblade is done, Animal Crossing's done, Fire Emblem's done. Tears of the Kingdom comes out May. They're gonna have games coming out in the second half of the year. What are they gonna be? And they're gonna have something big for the holiday. And Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's coming out this year. They're just gonna have DLC next year, probably. So there needs to be something coming out in the holiday.
the Brilliant Diamond
And
Shining Pearl team could be tabbed for something next year.
they're gonna do DLC.
Well, the main team, yeah, but the main team isn't what did Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. That was a third-party company.
You're suggesting to do DLC and another game.
Another remake.
I'm telling you that the DLC. I mean, just based off what they've done, DLC will be the third version. Will be the product for next year. So I mean, they could do a thing where they have something come out early, like Legends Arceus Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl thing, where they have another game come out early next year. Maybe they could squeeze something like that. My point simply is that I think something big needs to come out in the second half of 2023, and with the Mario movie coming out April, I think it makes sense to have another Mario game. That game, they've probably been sitting on that Mario game.
Maybe. And that's I don't really, guys. You know what's so fun about predicting Nintendo?
You're gonna be wrong.
Almost everyone's wrong all the time.
Well, I mean, I feel pretty good about the Mario prediction.
That's fine, but then we'll get to the end of next year, and then oh yeah, it's a Mario game, all right. We have another Mario Maker 3 that we totally didn't need this generation. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We ported another old Mario game again. Okay, that's
yeah. I mean,
I mean,
Maybe they'll
Nintendo's gonna do things that Nintendo's gonna do. You know,
Maybe they'll
like you
live
keep
on
thinking
to-
like, yeah, we got Zelda next year. You know, oh man, Mario would be a really big holiday game. I think it kind of depends. Like, what if Nintendo's about to pull a damn PlayStation, and they have new hardware and it's coming next holiday?
Yeah,
They're just
new
keeping
Mario.
it dead silent. They're dropping the Zelda. They're acting like Switch is going to go strong. We're going to give you big game, big game, big game. Oh, by the way, new platform. And we're launching it with Mario.
And
Have a
there's
damn
4K
good day.
version.
And by the way, don't worry if you already own Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. It is backwards compatible. And we'll release a $2 4K update. Have a good day.
4K 60 FPS. Here we go.
Yeah. But like, obviously because like, hey, it makes sense. Switch is on the decline, but it's still really popular. So still get your new platform art while your platform's still relevant and really popular. Still have big games coming. Keep the flow coming. You never have to stop. That's the dream. That's the dream for me as a Nintendo fan. You never got to stop. Just keep it going. We don't have to have dead years anymore. Just keep it going. But don't know what Nintendo's going to do.
About jumping to 4K is that they can do two different things, right? So they're running on a Wii U ports. They love those Wii U ports because it helps to buffer their lineup,
like-
right? For cheap. What they can now move on to is Wii and GameCube remasters and 4K updates. So they have 3 different like pools that they can like, all right, what can we
According to
put
Emily
out
Rogers, we're
cheap?
getting a bunch of GameCube remasters for the end of the gen.
I mean, I saw your video where you're like, hey, F-Zero's coming. I was like, oh, sweet.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, I don't know when, you know, like
Tomorrow.
it's something being worked on doesn't mean like it's, you know, and the thing is, that's not a big holiday game.
Didn't you hear there was a GX remaster?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. In the end, guys, I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. It's been a fun podcast. I know Andrew's got to get some sleep over there. I get to work on my next video. You guys are doing awesome. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry we didn't get to our third topic. Again, it is Tears of the Kingdom related, but you know what? What I love about that topic is it's evergreen. And then who knows? If I hold on to it enough, maybe we'll just get more Zelda information for real. And that would be
Yeah.
sweet. That would be
That's
even
an
better.
ongoing
That's
story.
what even better. Dude, Nintendo, we already know when it's coming, so you can tease anytime. I'm ready for another teaser. A screenshot on social media will do, baby. It doesn't need to be
By the
anything
way-
crazy. Just
I talked about that today.
little itty bits of teaser because now we have a release date. There's not any particular reason to just not remind people this holiday. By the way, oh, you think Switch is dead? Look what we got coming. Don't forget. Don't forget. I know you might not want to overshadow Fire Emblem. You can tease them both. It's all good. We can get both. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning into episode 71. Go check out Andres Restart's channel. It is linked in the description. Literally, just click on his name. Take you right there. Go subscribe. Thank you, YouTube, for giving us that feature to do that. Didn't have that feature 3 years ago, so thanks, YouTube. You actually did something positive for once. You guys can check us out every single week at 8 p.m. or around 8 p.m. Central Time at the Nintendo Prime Podcast channel or anywhere podcasts that heard. We should have all the audio ones up, hopefully. This will be the one that still, I don't know. I don't know if it'll let us download it or not. We'll see. All right, guys. You got anything you want to tease for upcoming content?
Well, you know, I literally put out a video today talking about Nintendo's potential plan for giving us Zelda news. So check that out. Came out a few hours ago.
Nice.
And I will be
Sounds
talking about
circle.
Xenoblade 3 soon.
Yes.
And also more on Mario.
It's me, Mario. Dude, I'm surprised that they didn't include that line in the trailer.
Well, because it's a different sound. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not the,
yeah. I got a feeling that
Yeah.
I don't know if he's even going to say it in the entire movie.
You don't
I
think he's gonna
I
say
want
it
to end it
all?
like this. I don't think his famous catchphrase is going to be said because it's different. I don't think
know.
anyone's going to care in the end, to be honest. But
I hope they don't. Like, I don't want
yeah,
them to. Like,
look.
be
Charles
great.
Martinet is "It's a Me Mario." I don't need someone bastardizing "It's a Me Mario." All right, guys. Later.
Peace.
Yeah.
And we're still live.